Chapter 359. The World's Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. She had some conflicts and grudges with the second miss. He never expected that after so many years, the two would still remember their hatred, which made him shake his head and laugh. So you are Lu Changsheng, the Talisman Master. I am Yuning Hai, and I have seen Lu Daoist, he said. At this moment, a blue-clothed young man standing shoulder to shoulder with Zheng Yongshan smiled and came forward to greet Lu Changxing with clasped hands. I have seen you, Daoist. Upon hearing the name, Lu Changxing knew that the man was from the Yu family of by Lake Mountain. He had also heard that the Zheng family was now lacking successors. They could hardly muster a newcomer for foundation establishment, let alone have many seeds for it. And the Zheng family ancestor had only a few decades of life left. Therefore, the Zheng family had connected with the Yu family, and there had been quite a few marriages between the two. The two just exchanged some simple pleasantries and then left with their female companions. Huaner still remembers the grudge. At this moment, Lu Changsheng looked at the second miss and teased her. What grudge could I remember? I don't hold grudges. The second miss, dressed in a finely made black gown, tall and graceful, lifted her delicate chin slightly when she heard Lu Changsheng's words. Since she became the mother of 2 children, she had been much more conservative in her dress. Although she still enjoyed buying little dresses, she would only wear them at home or when she was with Lu Changsheng. Did that person just now offend Huan's sister? Chu Zhenzhen, who was standing aside, revealed a gossiping expression upon hearing this. Lu Changsheng laughed as he recounted the amusing incident. After accompanying his wife for half a day, Lu Changsheng then proceeded to the Lu family compound with everyone. Although he did not live here, he often visited the Red Leaf Valley Market and had a courtyard there. On the third day, Lu Yunzhong, the Lu family ancestor, also visited the Red Leaf Valley Market. He brought along several top figures from the Lu family to inspect the conditions of the shops in their marketplace. As the 9th elder of the family, Lu Changxing naturally joined them. During this inspection, Lu Changxing gained a general understanding of some of the inns and restaurants owned by the Lu family. He could only say their profits were mediocre. If one desired higher income, it was the spiritual talisman shop that provided a more substantial revenue. This was also because the Lu family had several top-level first-grade talisman masters. Moreover, the paper talismans produced by the Lu family and their spirit ink had a good reputation. Congratulations to the host, the number of offspring with spiritual roots has reached 30, granting a lottery draw opportunity. Just then, a profound vibration accompanied by the system notification sound arose. Lu Changxing knew that another child with a spiritual root had been born in his family. But after so many lottery draws, he was now undisturbed by such notifications and continued with the inspection with everyone else. After the inspection, Lu Changxing returned to his quiet room and whispered, "System, draw the lottery." Immediately, the familiar lottery wheel emerged before his eyes. Start the draw. With a small nudge from his mental spirit, a golden light quickly spun on the lottery wheel. Soon, the light stopped on treasure. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the luminous treasure tree. The reward has been dispatched to the system space. The host may check it at any time. Luminous treasure tree? A celestial spirit plant? Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow as he looked at the reward he had drawn. He had previously thought that he would only find spirit plants in the pet section when he drew the 6-winged golden silkworm. That's right, some plants and spirit plants can turn into demons, but that's not true for all plants. Lu Changxing chuckled lightly. Without dwelling on these details, he shifted his focus to the introduction of the luminous treasure tree in the system space. Spirit plant, luminous treasure tree. Rank, 3rd grade. Description: the luminous treasure tree, every 30 years, will condense luminous sweet dew from its roots. The dew, when used to wipe the eyes, can clarify vision and enhance the effectiveness of spiritual eye techniques and divine skills. Luminous treasure tree, luminous sweet dew, clarifies vision and enhances spiritual eye techniques and divine skills. Lu Changxing, perusing the introduction of the luminous treasure tree in the system space, showed a pleased expression. In the cultivation world, naturally occurring treasures that could amplify a cultivator's personal abilities and enhance techniques and divine skills were exceedingly rare and precious. And for most cultivators, a talented eye was in high demand. For example, to inspect another person's cultivation level and strength, to navigate secret realms and formations, or to appraise treasures, one required capable spiritual eye techniques. This luminous treasure tree, capable of steadily producing luminous sweet dew beneficial to such techniques, could truly be called a money tree. However, this luminous treasure tree only condenses luminous sweet dew once every 30 years, which is too long a time. Moreover, such a third-rank spirit plant would need to be planted at least on a second-grade spirit vein. Although it is possible to plant it in Qingzhou Valley, the luminous treasure tree isn't like the golden armor bean mother, which you could just plant by digging a hole in the courtyard. It looks quite large and conspicuous. Lu Changsheng took a deep breath and exhaled, clearly recognizing the shortcomings of this spirit plant. In the long term, it was a money tree, a treasure tree of great value to a cultivation family. But personally, for the moment, it was quite useless to him. Well, you'll see later on whether I can plant it at the Lu family first. After all, such a spirit plant can be transplanted. It just requires a spiritual plant master during the process. Lu Changxing did not extract the luminous treasure tree from the system space yet. He decided to wait until it needed planting to take it out. Chapter 360. The World's Spirit Plant, the Luminous Treasure Tree. _4. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know how to arrange these extracts. As for the heaven and earth longevity technique he obtained, he didn't consider having his wives and children assimilate the heaven and earth spirit plants into life-bound spiritual roots, for the time being. It wasn't that he was reluctant to part with this treasure tree. In the heaven and earth longevity technique, after the heaven and earth spirit plants are refined into life-bound spiritual roots, they continue to grow just as before. Even the cultivator could gain some of the mysterious divine skills of the heaven and earth spirit plants. But he even had to consider whether to plant it in the Lu family. How could he use this treasure tree just for his wife to cultivate the heaven and earth longevity technique? Dusk fell. Lu Changxing arrived at Xiao Siye's courtyard. After all, tomorrow he was to attend the auction with his 4 wives. Unable to accompany Xiao Siye, he also had to trouble her to help with the auction. The next day, Lu Changxing, accompanied by his 4 wives, along with Lu Yuanzhong, Lu Yuanding and others, headed to the Red Leaf Valley auction venue. To enter the auction, there were naturally certain requirements. One either needed to have a certain status or verify their financial ability. But as one of the hosts, the Lu family naturally arranged a special VIP area. Brother Lu, it's a pleasure to meet all the sister-in-laws. Hong Yi also came to the Red Leaf Valley Market to attend the auction. Upon seeing Lu Changxing, he promptly went up to greet him, looking to get acquainted. Even though he had long known that Lu Changxing's status in the Lu family was extraordinary, seeing Lu Changxing walking together with several high-ranking members of the Lu family and his wives, he still couldn't help but feel emotional inside. He reminisced about the past when he, Lu Changxing, and Li Feiyu failed to be selected by the immortal sex. Back then, he had felt a bit arrogant in his heart. He thought that Lu Changxing and Li Feiyu could only go to cultivation families to be sons-in-law, while he could return home to cultivate. But now, Lu Changxing had married the pearl of the Lu family as a son-in-law and become a high-level figure of the Lu family, leaving him looking up. Brother Hong, you're here too. Lu Changxing smiled and nodded, briefly introducing him to his wives. However, both Chu Xinjin and Lu Miaoyan had met Hong Yi before. Only Lu Miaohuan had not met him. Although the second young lattice temperament had improved slightly, she was still indifferent to someone like Hong Yi, merely nodding lightly out of courtesy for Lu Changsheng's sake. Hong Yi didn't linger too much either. He simply came over to greet them and then quickly left. Daoist Yu, Daoist Bai, Daoist Jing, Daoist Huang, Daoist Su. After entering the venue, Lu Yuanzhong chatted and greeted each person. Those who could be greeted by Lu Yuanzhong and engage in mutual conversation were naturally all Foundation establishment great cultivators. Facing this, Lu Changxing did not mingle and instead took his wives to sit down in the Lu family's VIP booth. Such VIP booths not only had good positions, providing an unobstructed view of the entire auction, but there were also maids preparing spiritual tea and spirit fruits. Lu Changsheng also spotted Xiaoxia in the VIP seats far away. After all, as a Foundation establishment great cultivator, she was definitely provided a VIP seat at the auction. As for Hong Yi, he sat in the common seats below, with only a plain cushion, very simple. About half an hour passed. The seats in the auction venue were almost full. A young man dressed in azure vestment robes and a jade crown, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes, stepped up to the auction stage. Welcome, fellow Daoists, to the Red Leaf Valley Market. My name is Yuningjuan from the Yu family, and I am honored to host this auction. I also hope that everyone will be able to purchase their desired items. With a smile on his face, the young man bowed to the audience. His voice, warm and gentle yet clear, reached everyone's ears. Clearly, his cultivation was not mediocre, possessing the strength of qi refinement perfection. Father, why do I feel like this auction is completely dominated by the Yu family? Lu Miaohuan, seeing that the person hosting the auction was also from the Yu family, frowned slightly and said. These past few days, as she wandered around the Red Leaf Valley Market, she could tell that whether it was patrolling or the auction itself, it was mostly handled by the Yu family. Hearing this, Lu Changsheng also looked towards Lu Yuanding. It was not just Lu Miaohuan who had this feeling, he had felt it for many years in the Red Leaf Valley Market. However, he had an inkling of the reason. Although this Red Leaf Valley Market is said to be hosted by our 4 major families, as you know, our Lu family only has Elder Yuan Zhong in residence. The Yu family, not only having 2 Foundation establishment ancestors but also being much stronger overall than our Lu family, so over these years, our Lu family has been losing its say in the Red Leaf Valley Market, explained Lu Yuanding with a sigh. Although the Lu family holds a 40% share in the Red Leaf Valley Market, the cultivation world ultimately operates on the principle that might is right. After the Lu family ancestor passed away, only Lu Yuanzhong was left to support the Lu family. So gradually, the say in the Red Leaf Valley Market fell into the hands of the Yu family. While the Bai family stands on the side of the Lu family, the Yu family is mainly competing for authoritative control, eroding the Lu family's interests. The Bai family not only doesn't suffer losses but even gains benefits from the Yu family. So even though everyone knows the danger of, when the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold, the Bai family was not likely to defend the Lu family's interests and step forward. After all, things had not reached that point yet. Although the Lu family benefited greatly from the annihilation of the Chun family in that battle, converting those advantages into strength also requires time, so now facing the Yu family, we can only give way. After all, Lu Yuanzhong has only broken through to Foundation establishment not long ago, while both of the Yu family's elders have been in Foundation establishment for many years. Lu Changsheng thought to himself, aware that the Lu family was developing steadily, but the situation was not that great. However, now that he too had reached Foundation establishment, should the Lu family really face a crisis, he would have the ability to lend a hand. Had it followed normal development, the overall strength of the Lu family would hardly surpass the Yu family, but if Lu Miaoge reached qi refinement perfection, Lu Changsheng was 60 to 70% confident he could help his wife succeed in Foundation establishment. Once Lu Miaoge succeeded in Foundation establishment, the Lu family's overtly stable development would no longer be a problem, and surpassing the Yu family in the future would not be an issue. Chapter 361. True Yang 5-Element Sword, Everyone is a Robber Cultivator. _1. As Lu Changsheng lost himself in thought, the auction officially began. The first item up for auction at this auction is a breakthrough elixir. This breakthrough elixir is used for overcoming the mid-stage bottlenecks of energy refining cultivators and is suitable for practitioners of various cultivation techniques. Today we are auctioning off 10 pills, with starting bids at 100 lower-grade spirit stones each. A graceful maid walked up, carrying a tray, as Yuningjuan picked up a porcelain bottle to begin the introduction. Many present already knew the effects of this breakthrough elixir. But he still gave a very detailed introduction. He explained the ingredients, effects, circumstances, and even identified the alchemist who concocted it. And he did so smoothly and without awkwardness, with humor and wit. Breakthrough elixir. I didn't expect the first item to be a breakthrough elixir. I wonder if there will be any high-grade breakthrough elixirs later on. Many cultivators in the venue were excited, not expecting such good items from the start. Breakthrough elixirs like these are considered cure-all remedies. Practically every cultivator and family power has a need for them, for use by their younger generations. 110 spirit stones. 120. 150. Voices continuously called out bids. But these bidders were well aware not to exceed the market price. In no time, the 10 breakthrough elixirs were fiercely claimed. First grade premium defense talisman, the Golden Light Bodyguard charm, can withstand the full force strike of an energy refining cultivator at the perfection stage. First grade lifespan extension pill, capable of extending life by 5 to 10 years, although such pills from the same grade will only be effective with the first pill taken. White Spirit Jade Bird, a lower high-quality bloodline spirit bird, capable of traveling 3,000 miles a day, can automatically navigate backend. Fourth, making it very convenient for sending messages, Golden Fufli Blade and its subsidiary blades, a matched set of advanced level magic artifacts, with 1 main blade and 8 subsidiary blades. By simply holding the main blade, you can control the 8 subsidiary blades to attack opponents unexpectedly and with relentless sharpness. The auction proceeded in an orderly fashion. Since this was Red Leaf Valley Market's first auction, one could say that all these items were rare finds. However, Lu Changxing didn't participate in the bidding throughout the event. For one thing, he wasn't interested in the items. And he also didn't want to reveal too much of his financial capacity. After all, in the eyes of the Lu family, he was simply a moonlighter when it came to income and expenses. Coming here with his wife this time was just to join in the excitement and broaden their horizons. Second rank lower grade talisman, the Thunderfire talisman, comparable to an attack from a Foundation establishment great cultivator. As evaluated by our U family appraisers, these talismans are all premium talisman with almost 10 to 20% more power, starting at a bid of 300 spirit stones, and there are 10 in total. At that moment, the maid brought another auction item to the stage, and Yu Ningjuan introduced it aloud. Second-rank talismans, and their premium talismans? It looks like the Yu, Lu, Bai, and Zheng families have all invested a lot in this auction. These premium talismans not only pack more punch, but are also ideal for talisman masters to copy, which might be worth acquiring one to take back. Many people in the crowd, hearing the introduction and looking at the talismans on stage, couldn't help but discuss and feel tempted. It's exceptionally challenging for ordinary cultivators to purchase advanced level talismans. One must venture to a large marketplace to seek them out. And often, one needs to reserve and wait. Even more so for advanced level talismans. Now with 10 second-rank talismans up for auction, all being premium talismans, it naturally stirred interest. It looks like these talismans should fetch a nice price. Lu Changxing, observing the notably more enthusiastic atmosphere in the room, couldn't help but grin. Knowing the 20 talismans he had Xiao Xie auction should bring in a significant profit. 400 spirit stones. A bid was immediately placed by an energy-refining cultivator, adding 100 spirit stones right off the bat. Since the starting prices at the auction are always below market value to allow for bidding room. This cultivator clearly aimed to outbid others in one fell swoop to dissuade competition. But the rest weren't fools either. They knew that ordinary second-rank lower-grade talismans were priced just so, therefore the premium ones would naturally fetch a higher price. 410. 420. 450. In a short while, the bidding for that single talisman soared by half over the starting price. 470. 500. Lu Changxing, watching the price rise, couldn't help but feel elated. He hadn't expected his second-rank talismans to be so popular. With these 20 talismans all auctioned off, he'd directly pocket 10,000 spirit stones. Sometimes, making money can be that simple. 550. Just then, Lu Yuanding, sitting beside him, spoke up in an indifferent voice, stating a price. "Father-in-law? Dad?" Lu Changxing and others turned to look at Lu Yuanding with some surprise. They didn't know why he suddenly placed a bid. The others at the venue, seeing Lu Yuanding bid, chose not to continue bidding. Aside from the price of 550 spirit stones already being quite high, they also didn't compete out of respect for the Lu family, since there were still 9 more to go. Hee, I've heard from the 4th elder that premium talismans are particularly well suited for talisman masters to practice copying. Changxing, Miaoge, you are both top-level talisman masters now. You can use this talisman for practice, which might help you advance to 2nd-grade talisman masters, Lu Yuanding chuckled and explained to Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge. Usually, during this kind of auction, the 4 major families would try not to compete with others. But for his daughter and son-in-law, he had nonetheless spoken up and made a bid. And his final bid did not have the sense of intimidation. "Thank you, father-in-law, for the generous gesture." Lu Changxing, upon hearing this, had mixed feelings of amusement and gratitude. Hee, there's no need for thanks among family, Lu Yuanding waved his hand dismissively. After the first Thunder Fire talisman was sold, the remaining 9 were successively auctioned off. Chapter 362, True Yang 5-Element Sword, Everyone is a Robber Cultivator. Each fetched a price of over 500 spirit stones. The last 2 even fetched the high price of nearly 600 spirit stones. These people probably had the same idea as Lu Yuanding, thinking of buying the talismans to copy, not for self-defense. If it were for self-defense, the price would seem unworthy. After auctioning off 10 Thunder Fire talismans, Lu Changsheng's other 10 2nd-rank Vajra talismans were not immediately auctioned off. The auction items were not one better than the next, varying in quality to stir the atmosphere in the venue. "Senior, here are the 2nd-rank Thunder Fire talismans you bid for." Before long, a law enforcement cultivator escorted a maid, delivering the talismans inside a talisman box to the VIP platform. Lu Yuanding had Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge check the talismans to make sure there were no problems, and then paid 550 spirit stones. Then he handed the talismans over to Lu Changxing, telling the 2 of them to ponder over them often, to study the patterns and flows of spiritual power in them. They could also take them back to ask the 4th elder for guidance when the time came. Ladies and gentlemen, next up for auction are the high-level spiritual birds reared by the 100 Birds Lake by family. At this moment, Yuningjuan started to introduce several spiritual birds taken out from a spiritual pet bag. Seeing this, Lu Changxing, who had been sitting leisurely, also took an interest. He had long wanted to replace his iron feather eagle with a flying mount. But he had no way to do so. The flying mounts available on the market, nearly all of them were about the level of the iron feather eagle, and were not significantly better. Although he had obtained an egg of the green jade luan bird, this thing was after all stolen goods. Who knew when it would hatch and grow big enough to serve as a mount? Purple-scaled eagle, middle-grade middle-stage bloodline with the strength of a 1st-grade, middle-stage creature, whether for combat or as a flying mount, both make it a decent choice. Starting bid 300 spirit stones. Golden-crowned crane, middle-grade high-quality bloodline with the strength of a 1st-grade, middle-stage creature, starting bid 500 spirit stones. Black-winged eagle, high-rank low-quality bloodline with the strength of a 1st-grade, middle-stage peak creature, starting bid 1,000 spirit stones. Yuningjuan introduced the 3 types of birds. "Father-in-law, are there any other flying spiritual birds coming up?" Lu Changxing, looking at the golden-crowned crane and black-winged eagle on the stage, inquired of Lu Yuanding. He remembered that some items for auction had been announced earlier in the venue. However, he had not looked closely. If there were no other fine spiritual birds later on, he thought the black-winged eagle seemed acceptable and could make do. There seems to be another black-winged eagle, later on in the late 1st grade. Lu Yuanding replied upon hearing this. Then he turned to Lu Changxing to inquire, "What, you want to buy a spiritual bird? I often run back and forth, and I feel it would be more convenient to have a better flying mount." Lu Changxing nodded and spoke truthfully. "Changxing, there's no need to waste money in this regard. The Iron Feather Eagle is already considered a decent flying mount. This golden-crowned crane and black-winged eagle, although faster than the Iron Feather Eagle, aren't significantly faster. It would not only be a waste of spirit stones, but the cost of upkeep is also much higher than that of the Iron Feather Eagle. Just for the sake of travel, it's not worth wasting this money. Lu Yuanding spoke out, persuading Lu Changxing not to waste money. The Iron Feather Eagle was a flying mount the Lu family got through their cooperation with the Bai family. Not only was it affordable, but it was also good in terms of flying speed and daily expenses, making it the first choice for value for money. All right. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing thought it over and decided to give up on changing his flying mount. He disdained the Iron Feather Eagle, not for its slow speed but because every time it encountered an enemy, it would tremble with fear. Yet, given his own situation, the black-winged eagle would tremble just as much if he encountered a Foundation establishment cultivator. If he ran into a minor Qi refinement practitioner, he could annihilate them single-handedly without needing to worry about his mount. It seems I need to go all out in one step, otherwise, the late first-grade black-winged eagle doesn't mean much to me. And spending thousands of spirit stones on a flying mount would make me seem too extravagant. Lu Changxing mused to himself. After watching the auction for so long, he also felt his usual spending seemed a bit high. Or rather, spirit stones came too easily to him, leading to a habit of spending lavishly. In this auction, items worth over 1,000 spirit stones were already considered very expensive. Many people might have just a few hundred spirit stones on them. The auction continued in an orderly manner. Talismans, elixir medicines, magic artifacts, spiritual beasts, secret techniques, cultivation legacies, and more all appeared. The remaining 10-second rank talismans that Xianxia had consigned were also auctioned during this time. But seeing that Lu Yuanding was ready to bid again, Lu Changxing proactively made a bid himself. After all, as a talisman master, bidding for a talisman in such a situation was also justifiable. He also didn't have the heart to let Lu Yuanding spend more on his account. Over 500 spirit stones was not a small expense for Lu Yuanding either. As time ticked by, the auction finally came to a climax. Next, we come to the last and final highlight of this auction. I'm sure all the guests here have been eagerly awaiting this. Yu Ningjuan spoke solemnly, causing everyone in the venue to perk up. Many came just for these climax auction items. Soon, maids holding trays covered with red cloth appeared on stage. Our first climactic auction item is a Foundation establishment spirit object, the Earth Fire Spiritual Liquid. Helpful for dealing with the mana barrier among the 3 obstacles of Foundation establishment, especially for cultivators with a fire attribute technique. The starting price is 1,500 spirit stones. Yu Ningjuan lifted the red silk from the first tray, revealing a crystal-clear glass bottle on a white jade tray. Through the glass bottle, one could see a flowing red liquid inside. Foundation Establishment Spirit Object. Earth Fire Spiritual Liquid. Chapter 363, True Yang 5-Element Sword, Everyone is a Robber Cultivator. In the venue, countless pairs of eyes burned with desire as they gazed at the Foundation Establishment Spirit Object. Even the energy-refining cultivators who couldn't afford it were filled with longing as they looked at the object. After all, this was a spirit object related to Foundation Establishment. Foundation Establishment Spirit Objects, I wonder what price it will fetch, Lu Changxing mused calmly to himself. The market price for a Foundation Establishment Spirit Object was between 2,000 to 3,000 spirit stones. But the final transaction price typically exceeded this amount. After all, such objects were considered cure-alls and highly sought after. Whether one was an energy-refining cultivator or a Foundation Establishment cultivator, a loose cultivator, or from a family power, there was demand. However, he wasn't interested. He still had 4 Foundation Establishment Spirit Objects on him, after all. 2,000 spirit stones. Those who could afford to bid for this item were no fools. Knowing what it meant to raise the bid by just 100 or 200 spirit stones, they directly bid 2,000. which also demonstrated their resolve. 2,100, 2,500, 2,800. Before long, the Foundation establishment spirit object sold for the high price of 3,900 spirit stones. Although the price was inflated, Foundation establishment spirit objects were, after all, hard to come by. Especially for those who cultivated fire attribute techniques, spending more spirit stones didn't matter. Second rank spirit pill, 3 Suns elixir. This elixir medicine does not need much introduction from me. Named after the concept of 3 Yang heralding prosperity, consuming it ensures that all hidden illnesses and underlying issues vanish as if bathed in sunlight. It is therefore somewhat miraculous in assisting the progression from energy refining to foundation establishment. Yuningjuan lifted the red silk cloth and introduced the object, holding a glazed jade bottle. 3 Suns elixir. Lu Changxing noticed his wife, Lu Miaoge, looking at him with eyes full of tenderness. He chuckled softly without saying a word. In the end, the 3 Suns elixir was sold at the price of 3,800 spirit stones. The same price that Lu Changxing had paid when he purchased it at the Elixir Cauldron Pavilion. But this was to be expected. Buying elixir medicines from a place like the Elixir Cauldron Pavilion was intrinsically more expensive. And at an auction, unless faced with competition, the prices generally would not go much higher than the market value. One after another, the star auction items appeared. These items were mostly bid on by the powers of Foundation establishment families or Great Foundation establishment cultivators. Ordinary energy refining loose cultivators simply didn't have the financial capacity to participate. Middle-grade spiritual artifact, True Yang 5-element sword. This is a meticulous work by Master Oji, forged from True Yang Phoenix tree wood and 5 elements primordial gold, with the aid of 3 Foundation establishment great cultivators, taking 7 days and nights for refinement, harnessing the power of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, with a starting price of 3,000 spirit stones. At that moment, Yuningjuan unveiled the item by lifting the red silk cloth to reveal a cinnabar red sword with spiritual light flowing, and introduced it out loud. The True Yang 5-element sword. Combining the power of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth? Lu Changxing, who was appearing leisurely, narrowed his eyes slightly when he heard the description. Although he had cultivated the 7 luminaries heart lamp as his life-bound spiritual artifact, he still lacked a suitable spirit sword. But fabricating a well-suited spirit sword incorporating all 5 elements and both yin and yang was no easy task. He would have to seek out a second-rank artifact refining master for that. Currently, he didn't know any masters of that caliber, so he had put the matter aside for the time being. Although this True Yang 5-element sword doesn't incorporate both yin and yang, it's quite suitable for me, Lu Changxing thought to himself, preparing to acquire the sword. It was true that a middle-grade spiritual artifact was usually mastered by cultivators in the middle stage of Foundation establishment. But with the profound origin bead at his side, he was by no means weaker than those in the middle stage of Foundation establishment. In fact, his mana was even more profound than many of them. However, in such a setting, it was inconvenient for him to bid, so he could only trouble Xianxia. Given that his divine sense was a weak point and could be detected by others, Lu Changxing opted not to transmit to Xianxia via divine sense. Instead, he discreetly took out a transmission talisman belonging to Xianxia. Xianxia, who wasn't far away, looked perplexed upon receiving a message from Lu Changxing. But, after seeing Lu Changxing's glance and looking toward the auction stage, she quickly grasped his intention. 5,000 spirit stones. Xianxia immediately called out her bid. If it were before, she would have worried about not having enough spirit stones. But with 22nd rank talismans from a previous auction, she had no concerns about having enough spirit stones. 5,500, 5,800, 6,000, 6,500, 7,000. When the bid reached 7,000, Xianxia glanced at Lu Changxing. The price of a middle-grade spiritual artifact was typically around 5,000 to 6,000 spirit stones. Although the true Yang 5-element sword, being an exceptional piece, would be a good deal more expensive, 7,000 spirit stones seemed about right. Continue. Lu Changxing gave a slight nod, signaling Xianxia to keep bidding. The sword was perfectly suitable for him, and he was not inclined to skimp on these spirit stones. There were a few foundation establishment cultivators bidding, but after crossing 7,000 spirit stones, only an imposing middle-aged man remained in competition with Xianxia. However, when Xianxia made a bid of 7,900 spirit stones, the great foundation establishment cultivator could only grimace and snort coldly as he gave up. When he snorted, he turned to look at Xianxia. It was as if he wanted to see who had dared not to give him face. Lu Changxing watched this scene intently, making a note of what the foundation establishment cultivator looked like. He wouldn't mind stepping out of the marketplace with Xianxia to resolve any grievances with the man. After the middle-grade spiritual sword, an item of spiritual armor and a rare spirit pill were auctioned, and the auction came to an end. However, after the auction, the patriarch of the Yu family and Lu Yuanzhong took to the stage to announce that the venue was available for free trading among attendees. They even offered to provide private boxes or secret chambers to facilitate transactions. Lu Changxing had no interest in this, nor was it convenient for him to participate. Moreover, the auction had lasted almost a day, and his 4 wives seemed somewhat tired. Chapter 364. True Yang 5-element sword, everyone is a robber cultivator. _4. He said a few words to Lu Yuanding and then left with his 4 wives. Junior, you've worked hard for this auction. In a private room of the auction, Patriarch Yu Yuanshan of the Yu family looked at his grandson Yu Ningjuan with satisfaction. He was very pleased with his grandson's performance throughout the auction. Grandfather, this is my duty, Yu Ningjuan replied, looking at his ancestor with respect. Junior, I know you must be dissatisfied that the old patriarch gave the foundation establishment elixir to Ning Hu and auctioned off the earth-fire spiritual liquid that was originally for you, but rest assured, if you perform well in the marketplace for the next 10 years, I will surely fight for the next foundation establishment elixir for you, and then, grandfather will also seek out a suitable foundation establishment spirit object for you. Patriarch Yu Yuanshan said solemnly to his grandson, how could I be dissatisfied when my elder brother successfully achieved foundation establishment with the elixir? As for the earth-fire spiritual liquid, it never suited me. Even with it, my chances of establishment would be slim. It's better to auction it off and contribute to the family. This was also my voluntary idea, Yu Ningjuan said with a candid expression. The Yu family currently appeared to only have 2 foundation establishment great cultivators. However, last year, Patriarch Yu Jinyang of the Yu family spent a great deal of money to acquire a foundation establishment elixir at Jiuxiao Immortal City, and allowed his great-grandson, Yu Ninghu, to successfully achieve foundation establishment in Jiuxiao Immortal City. This news was only known to the core members of the Yu family. Good, if you can think this way, grandfather is also relieved. Now that we have the Red Leaf Valley market, as long as we can get this marketplace running and steadily developed, then take over the Zheng, Lu, and by families, our Yu family might be able to take it a step further. Patriarch Yu Yuanshan looked at his sensible grandson and felt very comforted, his eyes filled with longing. Yu Ningjuan also showed a look of longing when he heard this. Meanwhile, dozens of miles away from the Red Leaf Valley market, 2 robber cultivators killed a pair of cultivators who had just left the Red Leaf Valley market. Their techniques were skilled, and they acted decisively. After dealing with the bodies and the environment, they immediately activated a formation device to hide their figures and auras. Whenever they encountered any lone chi refinement loose cultivators, the 2 would strike with the force of thunder and continue this behavior. Isn't someone taking the opportunity to attempt foundation establishment after the Red Leaf Valley market auction? At this moment, one of the 2, a burly man dressed in a gray vestment robe and wearing a bamboo hat, checked a transmission talisman. This Red Leaf Valley market only has a middle-grade spirit vein, and they dare to let someone attempt foundation establishment here? Aren't they afraid it will affect the formation's operation? The other, a young robber cultivator also wearing a gray vestment robe and a bamboo hat, said upon hearing this, "It must be that the red leaf market wants to curry favor and attract this person. And they want to use this opportunity to attract loose cultivators to come here for foundation establishment. After all, this marketplace doesn't have any major backing. It's just established by 4 foundation establishment families. The strongest among them, the Yu family, with patriarch Yu Jinyang, is only at the middle stage of foundation establishment. And normally, there's only one cultivator at the initial stage of foundation establishment stationed in the market." The burly man spoke disdainfully. After speaking, he looked at the young robber cultivator and said, "Your mother sent a message to me. She probably also wants to stir up a big scheme. Now that we're wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect, why not take this opportunity of the Red Leaf Valley Market auction to plunder, and then directly flee Jiang country, head to Yu country? That way you'll have your foundation establishment resources as well." The burly man suggested. "Dad, isn't that too risky?" The young robber cultivator said with some concern after hearing this. "What's the risk in that? Your dad has come this far from a nobody loose cultivator. I've seen all kinds of storms. This Red Leaf Valley market doesn't have a big backing. During this auction, it's not just us who came to rob travelers. There are many others here to muddy the waters, hoping to pick up some advantages. Besides, as long as the market becomes chaotic at the time, everyone will be robber cultivators." The burly man spoke, clearly accustomed to such undertakings. Chapter 365. Marketplace Mayhem. 4 robber cultivators emerge. _1. As the auction concluded, the crowd in the marketplace quickly dwindled. After all, the surge in visitors was mostly due to the auction, or those looking to trade amidst the excitement. Only a small portion of the crowd would choose to settle in Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyun, and Chu Zhenzhen, along with Lu Yuanding and Lu Yuanzhong, returned to Qingzhou Mountain. Lu Changxing, however, did not go back with them. He planned to return after some time. He made his way to the small courtyard he rented with Xianxia. "Changxing." Xianxia revealed a gentle expression on her usually cold face when she saw Lu Changxing. She handed over the spirit stones and the true Yang 5 Elements sword that had been auctioned to Lu Changxing. "You've worked hard, Shiyu." Lu Changxing took the spirit stones and the spiritual sword from Xiaoxia's hands. He then examined the true Yang 5 Elements sword. The spiritual sword was 3 feet long and 1 inch wide, with both hilt and blade gleaming in red gold color. The hilt bore a wooden pattern, while the blade was etched with a pattern of the 5 elements, enveloped by a faint golden halo. Merely looking at it brought forth an aura of sharpness. Even without having refined it yet, Lu Changxing felt the spiritual sword was impressive and very suitable for him. "Changxing, this true Yang 5 Elements sword comes with a special sacrificial refinement technique." Xiaoxia took out a jade slip and passed it to Lu Changxing. The biggest difference between spiritual artifacts and magic artifacts is that spiritual artifacts can be refined and acknowledged by their master, allowing seamless control and enhancing power during combat. Even if an enemy seizes them, it would be difficult to refine them quickly. Oh, there's even a matching sacrificial refinement technique. Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow as he received the jade slip. He had long heard that some excellent magic artifacts and spiritual artifacts come with their own control spells and sacrificial refinement techniques. He scanned the sacrificial refinement technique contained within the jade slip with his divine sense. Inside was a blood refinement method. By using blood to refine the spiritual artifact, its power could be maximized in the hands of the first master. Even if the spiritual sword was snatched away, without the corresponding sacrificial refinement technique, forcible refinement would greatly diminish its power. While there are benefits to having a spiritual artifact with a special refinement method, there are also downsides. The advantage is that its power is stronger than that of a regular spiritual artifact. The downside is that if resold, the devaluation and discount are quite severe. After a brief look, Lu Changxing put away the true Yang 5 Elements sword without starting the refinement process right away. After all, there were more pressing matters to attend to. A few days later, having dealt with urgent business, Lu Changxing began the refinement process of the true Yang five-element sword. Refining a spiritual artifact is not difficult, especially when it has no owner. In just half a day, Lu Changxing had successfully refined the true Yang five-element sword. Go! Stepping into the courtyard, Lu Changxing's mental spirit stirred slightly, and the true Yang five-elements sword flew out from his hand. The spiritual sword, like a graceful swan or a roaming dragon, gave a light hum, bursting with the sharp energy of gung metal, its sword qi crisscrossing the air. The next moment, the sword's sharp gung metal energy transformed into a shockwave as powerful as tumultuous waves, with continuous azure patterns shimmering across it. Then the sword changed again, its blade now suffused with a fiery red heat, roiling vigorously as if a fire dragon were roaring. Xianxia, in her moon-white dress, her holy and graceful figure standing there, watched the scene unfold with surprise and amazement in her eyes. Although Lu Changxing was merely toying with the true Yang five-element sword and had not displayed its full might, such a deft display led her to recognize that his sword technique was extraordinary. 7 Luminaries Sword Scripture. Xianxia murmured to herself. Previously, Lu Changxing had told her that the cultivation technique he was studying was called the 7 Luminaries Sword Scripture. But she had not witnessed Lu Changxing employing this technique. Now she had gained some insight. She somewhat understood the significance of the 7 luminaries. Not bad, indeed this feels more suitable than the previous 2 spiritual swords I've used, Lu Changxing said, looking pleased as he retracted the sword's glow. In such a small courtyard, despite not being able to unleash its potential and test its might, a simple experience was enough for him to roughly gauge the power of this spiritual sword. It felt even more fitting in his hands than the white flying sword of the man in red and Meng Yibai's golden flying sword. It allowed him to utilize his 7 luminaries sword qi more effectively. As for the issues, this flying sword's primary power enhancement lay in the 5 elements. The genuine Yang Catalpa tree served merely as a guide, having no enhancing effect on the attributes of yin and yang. However, contentment is the key to happiness. To Lu Changxing, this was already sufficient, and to spend 7,900 spirit stones was not a loss. It seems Lu Lang is quite satisfied with this spiritual sword. Should Lu Lang require it, once Shiyu accumulates enough contribution value within our sect, I could request an artifact refining master to incorporate yin and yang spiritual materials, reforging the sword to elevate it to a superior or even an extreme quality spiritual artifact. Then, with both yin and yang, and the 5 elements complete, I imagine it would suit Lu Lang even better, Xianxia said softly with a smile, observing the contentment on Lu Changxing's face. From Lu Changxing's demonstration, she understood the meaning of the 7 luminaries and also comprehended why Lu Changxing had her bid for this spiritual sword and where it was lacking for his use. If I have such a need in the future, I'll come to bother Shiyu for it, Lu Changxing replied with a smile. For now, this spiritual sword is quite enough for me. Lu Changxing felt quite convenient having Xiaoxia's connections. Requesting a second-rank master himself would be troublesome, but for Xiaoxia, a disciple of the Immortal sects, it was something that could be resolved within Qingyun sect. Shiyu, someone competed with you during the auction. They might bear a grudge against you. Do you want me to go and get rid of him to settle the score? Lu Changxing said, looking at Xiaoxia, who stood beside him, her figure ethereal and exquisite. It wasn't that he had become petty or vindictive. If it were him, he would merely return a glare with a glare. Unless someone truly troubled him, he wouldn't bother holding a grudge. Chapter 366. Marketplace Mayhem, 4 robber cultivators emerge. But when it came to Xiaoxia, things were different. Moreover, it was for her own sake that Xiaoxia had bought the true Yang 5-element sword and earned this person's grudge, so naturally he had to take a stance. For such a trifle, Shiyu isn't concerned at all, Lu Lang need not be like this. Upon hearing these words, Xiaoxia immediately blossomed into a smile like a young girl and said. She was not one to fuss over minute details. Especially since cultivating the supreme forgetful love technique, her emotions were mostly undisturbed by external matters. Such trifling issues didn't linger in her heart. But Lu Changsheng's words still stirred a trace of sweetness in her heart. All right, Lu Changsheng agreed with a smile and nodded his head. After chatting for a bit, the two of them changed their appearance and left, returning to their cave-dwelling area with different identities. Now that the auction had ended, there was no need to maintain their foundation establishment false identities. Otherwise, two foundation establishment cultivators with undisclosed backgrounds living in the marketplace would make the four great families uneasy and vigilant. Upon returning to the cave-dwelling area, Lu Changsheng found it to be much more crowded. It turned out that someone was preparing to attempt foundation establishment, drawing many spectators. Moreover, the Red Leaf Valley market had introduced a new policy. As long as certain conditions were met in the Red Leaf market, the market would provide a dwelling for attempting foundation establishment. To quickly increase the foot traffic in the Red Leaf Valley market, the four great families have really put a lot of effort into it. But making such a move must also come with its share of risks, Lu Changsheng said softly as he shook his head upon seeing the announcement. Generally, only large marketplaces and immortal cities provided resources for attempting foundation establishment. Red Leaf Valley only had a second-rank middle-grade spirit vein, which wasn't expansive, making it only a medium-sized marketplace. Just maintaining the internal spiritual energy of the marketplace and the operation of the Great Formation was already quite a task. If someone were to make a breakthrough to foundation establishment, extensively drawing upon nature's spiritual energy would undoubtedly affect the operation of the Great Formation. If they encountered an enemy attack during this time, it could render the Great Formation unable to operate at full capacity. However, to develop the marketplace at its initial stage, advantages had to be extended as much as possible to attract people to settle and spend. Moreover, the four great families dared to implement this policy because their own families were not far from the Red Leaf Valley market. Should any chaos ensue, they could arrive post-haste to suppress it. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. At the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop, on the 3rd floor. Sister Miaoga, this step involves transitioning the flow, so you must control the spiritual power gently, like a trickling stream. On this day, Lu Changsheng was guiding Lu Miaoga in talisman making. In the past, he and Lu Miaoga exchanged insights on the talisman path, or he would give her subtle pointers. Now, having broken through to foundation establishment and considered the foremost in the Lu family's talisman path, he was more inclined to show off his knowledge and directly guide her. After all, she was his wife-to-be. And by teaching and guiding her more, Lu Miaoga could also advance to 2nd grade talisman master in the shortest time possible. Come, let me guide you in drawing it once. After the instruction, Lu Changsheng held Lu Miaoga's smooth and delicate hand, providing hands-on teaching and guiding her in drawing the talisman. Thus, after half an hour, the talisman was successfully drawn. Changsheng, with your talisman-making skill, it probably won't take long before you can successfully draw 2nd-rank talismans and become a 2nd-grade talisman master, right? As the talisman was successfully drawn, Lu Miaoga looked at Lu Changsheng with soft, gentle eyes, brimming with beauty, and spoke. As a talisman master, through such intimate teaching, she could clearly feel how exquisite Lu Changsheng's level of talisman making was. Even if Lu Changsheng claimed to be a 2nd-grade talisman master, she would believe it. Because both were top-level 1st-grade talisman masters, yet she felt as if she and Lu Changsheng were worlds apart. I estimate it'll be another year or two, Lu Changsheng said with a smile. Regarding this matter, he had always had a clear understanding. He planned to reveal himself as a 2nd-grade talisman master in about a year and a half. Ever since he announced his advancement to the 7th-level energy refinement, he had begun to exchange for 2nd-rank talisman-making materials at the Lu family, signaling to others that he was attempting to draw 2nd-rank talismans. 2 years, Lu Miaoga said on hearing this, her eyes filled with joy. After so many years of companionship and as husband and wife, she naturally knew that if Lu Changsheng said so, it meant he was confident. Within 2 years, he would surely become a 2nd-grade talisman master. This filled her with immense happiness. As a wife, who wouldn't want her husband to be powerful and accomplished? A second-grade talisman master might not be comparable to a foundation establishment great cultivator, but foundation establishment cultivators would still have to show respect to a second-grade talisman master. Moreover, Lu Changxing was only in his 30s. Becoming a second-grade talisman master at his age indicated a boundless future on the talisman path. If he were willing to work for some major power and connect with foundation establishment great cultivators, he might even obtain a foundation establishment elixir and attempt foundation establishment himself. Lu Changxing saw Lu Miaoge beaming with happiness as she looked at him. In her soft, water-like beautiful eyes, there was not only the affection and attachment between husband and wife, but also a maternal radiance mingled with a young girl's adoration and admiration. This gaze, even with a mere glance, softened one's heart and caused it to flutter. There's nothing more gratifying than liking the features of someone's face. That's right, at most in 2 years, your husband will become a second-grade talisman master. Lu Changsheng's own heart fluttered as he saw her gaze. He remembered how tolerant Lu Miaoge had been over the years, her gentle and intelligent nature in his presence, and her understanding demeanor. He felt as if having such a wife was all a man could ever wish for. Sister Miaoge, you should know that I've always concealed my cultivation level. In fact, when I previously claimed to have broken through to the 7th level energy refinement, I had actually reached the 9th level. Knowing that the news of his imminent advancement to second-grade talisman master made Lu Miaoge so happy, Lu Changxing simply decided to share more news to make her happy. Chapter 367. Marketplace Mayhem, 4 robber cultivators emerge. After all, when they had used dual cultivation to save Lu Miaoge, she had found out that he was at the energy refinement late stage. It's just that he didn't mention it, and Lu Miaoge never asked about it. Now that he had made a breakthrough in foundation establishment, it was not a big deal to reveal a little about his cultivation level. 9th level energy refinement. Changsheng, you've broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge indeed couldn't hide her immense surprise, her beautiful eyes rippling softly with happiness for him. In the cultivation world, breaking through to the energy refinement late stage before the age of 40 meant there was hope for foundation establishment. Now that Lu Changxing had broken through to the 9th level of energy refinement at the age of 33, it was not at all an overstatement to call him a genius. Across all of Qingzhou Mountain, there were only a few people who could achieve the 9th level of energy refinement at such an age. Although she didn't understand how Lu Changxing, with a 9th grade spiritual root, had achieved such a cultivation level in just over a decade, she did not ask further. She knew that Lu Changxing had his own secrets. Of course, when have I ever deceived you? Observing her reaction, Lu Changxing couldn't help but smile and spoke accordingly. However, deep down he felt guilty for deceiving her again regarding his cultivation level. I always knew you were extraordinary, Changxing. Lu Miaoge, with her clear and gentle demeanor, said with a heart full of joy, "Why did you suddenly bring this up today?" She had long known that Lu Changxing was at the energy refinement late stage, but she did not know the specifics of his cultivation level. Because I know, Sister Miaoge, you've always wanted me to diligently pursue cultivation and aim for foundation establishment in the future. Seeing you so happy about the second-grade talisman master, I didn't want to hide, and I wanted to make you happier. Lu Changxing hugged Lu Miaoge, resting his chin lightly on her silky hair, and spoke the honest truth. I'm very happy. I believe, Changxing, that you will definitely become a foundation establishment great cultivator in the future. Lu Miaoge nestled in Lu Changsheng's arms, her heart sweet and her eyes brimming with affection as she spoke softly. Having spent so many years together, she was naturally aware that Lu Changxing had many secrets. Whether it was from the time he saved her, his current 9th level energy refinement, or the previous involvement with the 3 Suns elixir, among others. Outsiders might not be able to figure it out, but as his closest companion, she could sense some of it. The fact that Lu Changxing was willing to reveal some to her also made her very happy. It's not just me, it's us. In the future, we will both achieve foundation establishment. Lu Changxing said warmly. He had not only the foundation establishment elixir but also 4 foundation establishment spirit objects. He had not sold these spiritual objects, they were reserved for Lu Miaoge. With these conditions, he did not believe that Lu Miaoge would fail to succeed in foundation establishment. If she still failed, he would forcibly help Lu Miaoge condense her Dao foundation using the dual cultivation secret technique from the yin-yang harmony technique. Even though it would only be a fractured foundation base, it could still be slowly repaired into a flawless foundation base using the yin-yang 5 elements foundation base afterward. Lu Miaoge softly replied, nestling in Lu Changsheng's embrace, her tender and affection-filled eyes displaying a longing for what was to come. She looked forward to that day truly coming. But family members know their own difficulties. She was very aware that without a foundation establishment elixir, relying solely on a few foundation establishment spirit objects, her chances of achieving foundation establishment were at best 2 or 3 in 10. The two of them just embraced each other quietly. Before long, Lu Miaoge's delicate body trembled slightly, her limbs felt soft, her cheeks blushed faintly, and her slender neck tilted back slightly. Is this... someone is making a breakthrough to foundation establishment? At that moment, Lu Miaoge looked out the window and saw that in the dwelling area of Red Leaf Valley, a vortex of spiritual energy was slowly gathering, and she gently stopped Lu Changsheng's playful actions inside his robe. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng also stopped and looked toward the window. He immediately saw a vortex of spiritual energy several meters across steadily growing larger in the distance. This step indicated that the person had already passed the 3 tests of foundation establishment and was starting to condense spiritual liquid, preparing to lift up their Dao foundation. He must be the cultivator who bought the earth-fire spiritual liquid. It seems he has already crossed the 3 tests of foundation establishment and is now at the critical stage of foundation establishment, Lu Changxing said out loud. I heard he only has the earth-fire spiritual liquid as a foundation establishment spirit object. It's uncertain whether he'll be successful or not, Lu Miaoge murmured, her rosy cheeks tinged with a touch of sentimentality. She wasn't worried about the other party. She was seeing her own future path. After all, for most cultivators without a foundation establishment elixir, attempting foundation establishment meant staking their lives. Gambling on that 10 to 20% chance. The Lu family would produce foundation establishment hopefuls every few generations. But until the Lu family ancestor was near the end of his life and Lu Yuanzhong managed to achieve foundation establishment, it was known how difficult this life-risking chance was. Furthermore, Lu Yuanzhong managed to break through only because Lu Yuanshan had obtained the ingredients for a foundation establishment elixir in the Purple Shadow's secret realm, partnered with others for alchemy, and successfully used the elixir to make the breakthrough. It's hard to say, after all, the hardest part of foundation establishment is this step where 80% fail, Lu Changxing said while playfully touching the plump and smooth snow-white skin. He had respect for someone who, without a foundation establishment elixir and only 10 to 20% chance, dared to gamble in such a way. After all, these people who were willing to give it everything typically had good foundations. Not only were their spiritual roots good, but they were also relatively young, only in their 40s or 50s. In that situation, they dared to forsake everything, risking their lives for that slim chance at foundation establishment. Sister Miaoge, it's getting late. After watching for a while, Lu Changsheng lost interest and said warmly to the beauty in front of him. After all, foundation-building phenomena weren't as compelling as the lovely person before his eyes. Moreover, such an event as foundation establishment wouldn't yield results in just a moment or two. It required sustained time. Lu Miaoge looked at Lu Changxing, who was acting childishly, and cooed, rolling her eyes at him with a playful scowl. Chapter 368. Marketplace Mayhem, 4 robber cultivators emerge. _4. But being entangled by Lu Changxing like this, she felt an indescribable sense of fulfillment pounding in her heart. At this moment, around the cave-dwelling area, numerous cultivators were watching the vortex of nature's spiritual energy in the sky. In large marketplaces and immortal cities, there are usually 1 or 2 people who attempt foundation establishment every year, so it's nothing out of the ordinary for everyone. But in Red Leaf Valley Market, foundation establishment is a rare event. Since it was the first time, naturally many people came to watch. Some also wanted to see if this person could succeed in their attempt. If they did succeed, then to congratulate them and become acquainted could be beneficial. Perhaps in a good mood, the successful cultivator might even bestow some rewards on them. The condensation of the gel has already begun. In another 3 days, it will be a good time to take action, someone said. Within the crowd, a tall and burly middle-aged man and a slender woman in a blue robe glanced at each other, nodded slightly, and then walked away. 3 days later, that night, after the hustle and bustle of the daytime, the Red Leaf Valley Market fell into peace during the late hours. Apart from the law enforcement cultivators patrolling the airspace above the streets, only a few shops and inns still had their lights on. After all, cultivators need to rest too. Most cultivators would sleep at night or meditate and practice cultivation. Creek. Inside an inn, 3 figures wearing gray vestment robes and bamboo hats walked out of their room. They looked at each other and nodded, then quickly made their way to the first floor. "Where are the spirit stones of the shop?" the lead burly man asked the shopkeeper, who was keeping vigil at the counter, in a deep voice. "Spirit stones? What spirit stones?" the shopkeeper asked, baffled and slow to react. But the next moment, a white bone crossbow bolt, accompanied by a terrifying aura, locked onto him. He jolted in shock, as a chilling fear ran down his spine, instantly realizing what was happening. Robber cultivator. The man before his eyes was a robber cultivator, a foundation establishment robber cultivator. "Senior, all the spirit stones are here, they're all here," said the shopkeeper, his legs trembling uncontrollably as he quickly took out a storage bag, his face rigidly smiling as he begged for mercy. Knowing the other party was a foundation establishment cultivator and still dared to rob so boldly, he didn't dare to resist even the slightest bit. He understood that the slightest dissatisfaction could cost him his life. "Is there more?" the burly man asked hoarsely after scanning the storage bag. Choosing to start from this inn was also the result of careful observation and planning. This inn did very good business. "Senior, our inn settles accounts with spirit stones weekly, and the owner comes every week to clear the accounts." "All the spirit stones are indeed here," explained the shopkeeper with a mournful face. After speaking, somewhat painfully, he pulled out his own storage bag and said, "Senior, these are my own savings. If the senior fancies them, please take them, I only ask that." But before he could finish, a small white bone arrow shot out. Pfft. The arrow pierced through the shopkeeper's head, making his eyes bulge with indignation as he died, unable to utter the words he wanted to say. He then fell to the ground with a thump, his body rapidly drained of blood by the white bone arrow, leaving a dried-up corpse. "The agreed-upon time is almost upon us. You go first to interfere with the great formation. I'll handle matters here," the burly man said to the gray-robed female cultivator and the young man in gray beside him. "Dad, be careful," the gray-robed young man said with concern. "Stop dawdling," the burly man replied impatiently, waving his hand dismissively. Thereupon, the gray-robed woman quickly left, pulling the young man with her. "Green wolf," the burly man patted his spiritual pet bag. A green wolf, 1 zhang tall, with dark green fur, gloomy eyes, and ferocious fangs, appeared at his side. After the green wolf appeared, it opened its huge mouth and devoured the shopkeeper's dried-up corpse. It then went to the entrance of the inn, its eyes gleaming with a predatory light. The burly man then took out a child-sized black gourd. "Go," he commanded, unsealing the gourd with hand seals. Black flames, like fire serpents, rolled out of the mouth of the gourd. Instantly, the inn was engulfed in flames, with thick black smoke billowing towards the sky. Amidst the roaring black flames and the spreading smoke, cries of pain and screams began to rise from within the inn. "What's going on here? It's on fire." "No, this isn't just a fire, this is evil flames with poison fire," Some cultivators inside the inn, realizing the danger, immediately fled through windows or by flying on artifacts. But the burly man, along with a green giant wolf, holding the black gourd in one hand and a white bone crossbow bolt in the other, lay in ambush outside the inn. Anyone who escaped from the inn was immediately targeted by him. A white bone arrow shot out swiftly, killing the person and snatching their storage bag with practiced ease. Audacious robber cultivator, daring to cause chaos in the marketplace. Soon, the Red Leaf Valley Market's patrol enforcement team, upon noticing the situation and the rising black smoke, quickly arrived on the scene. However, the burly man showed no fear facing this group of law enforcement cultivators. A white bone crossbow bolt was released from his hand, instantly killing a law cultivator who was at the energy refinement late stage. Not good. It's a Foundation establishment great cultivator. Quick, notify the ancestor. The other law enforcement cultivators exclaimed in shock as they took out their transmission jade tokens. At the same time, they activated a formation artifact, hoping to harness the power of the marketplace's great formation to resist the burly man. But the burly man was prepared. His expression was calm and indifferent beneath his bamboo hat as he performed hand seals, causing gray light pillars to surge from the ground. They caused the black smoke, still billowing from the burning inn, to rapidly roll towards the law enforcement cultivators, like dark clouds descending. To prevent escapees or reinforcements, he had laid a trap ahead of time. As the black smoke enveloped the law enforcement cultivators, they felt the fire poison spreading through their bodies, stiffening their movements and slowing down their spiritual power. Chapter 369. Marketplace Mayhem. 4 robber cultivators emerge. _5. Pu piu piu. The next moment, a continual barrage of white bone crossbow bolts shot out, turning into beams of soul-snatching streaks of deadly light that quickly annihilated several people. Roar! A green wolf roared beside them, devouring a few corpses. Let's go! Seeing that the cleanup on this side was almost done, the burly man adjusted the straw hat on his head and quickly charged towards a magical artifact shop. He had been preparing for this robbery for nearly half a month. He had naturally scoped out the place in the marketplace to maximize his gains as much as possible. Just as the burly man used a black gourd to break through the shop's formation with black flames and plunder it bare, he sensed a Foundation establishment aura rushing towards this area. They're finally here. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he took out a transmission talisman and crushed it. How dare you, robber cultivator, to create such chaos in our Red Leaf Valley Market? A roar of anger echoed in the night sky. Before the man arrived, a fiery crimson will surge towards them. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the golden will spun rapidly in the air, resembling a blazing sun, bursting with scorching heat, its might overwhelming. Swoosh! Upon seeing this, the burly man's white bone crossbow bolt was swathed in strands of dark, dense blood, and a blood-veined white bone arrow suddenly shot out. Clang! The white bone arrow collided with the fiery crimson wheel mid-air, producing a deafening metallic clang. Subsequently, 2 currents of mana surged, stirring up waves of air currents in the night sky. A Foundation establishment cultivator? Yu Yuanshan looked at the burly man, his pupils contracted, showing a grave expression. But when he saw the smoky ruin of the magical artifact shop, his eyes immediately blazed with fury. This shop was, in fact, owned by his Yu family. There were magic artifacts inside worth nearly 10,000 spirit stones. Now that the shop had been plundered to emptiness, it was akin to losing nearly 10,000 spirit stones. This amount of spirit stones was a considerable sum for their Yu family. Dare to plunder in our Red Leaf Valley Market, die! He bellowed angrily, as another ice-blue crescent wheel appeared around him. The crescent wheel spun, emitting a bone-chilling coldness that lowered the surrounding air temperature by several degrees, and suddenly slashed towards the burly man. Meanwhile, he produced an array plate in his hand, manipulating it to utilize the power of the marketplace's great formation to suppress the intruder. But the next moment, boom, boom, booming, countless flashes of lightning struck the Red Leaf Valley Market's green water cloud formation. The formation flickered, with spiritual light converging and lightning snakes wildly dancing in the night, accompanied by dull thunderous explosions that sounded one after another. At this moment, the calmness inside the market was completely shattered, and turmoil erupted. Many hidden robber cultivators, as if they had received a signal, directly rushed into various shops and businesses with their magic artifacts, slaughtering their way in. What is this? Yu Yuanshan's complexion changed drastically at the sight of this. He was unafraid of his opponent in the market because of the green water cloud great formation. With the boost from this great formation, and the power of the formation aiding him, he was confident he could kill Foundation Establishment middle-stage cultivators. Even against late-stage Foundation Establishment cultivators, he would manage to delay until reinforcements arrived. However, seeing this situation, he immediately realized that those who dared to plunder the market so brazenly must have come prepared. Fellow Daoist, I don't care who you are. If you're willing to withdraw now, I am willing to let bygones be bygones and let the matter rest, Yu Yuanshan said to the burly man, suppressing the rage in his heart. At present, because someone in the Red Leaf Valley Market was undergoing Foundation establishment, the internal circulation of spiritual energy was insufficient, and the great formation couldn't operate at full strength. Now that the formation was being bombarded and shaken like this, he realized that there was another Foundation Establishment cultivator on the attacker's side. Even with two Foundation Establishment cultivators, he could rely on the formation to barely delay until support arrived. But if the commotion continued, the entire marketplace would descend into chaos. If the marketplace fell into chaos, all the effort and management of their 4 big families over the years would be ruined. Leave now. The burly man laughed at Yu Yuanshan's words, appearing to have heard some joke. He looked at Yu Yuanshan with a hoarse voice and said, "How about this? As long as you do not interfere with me, I'll try not to plunder your Yu family's shops. Give me half an hour at most, and I will leave immediately. How about that?" The burly man said. He knew he had to leave after a quick plunder. Otherwise, once the 4 big families of Red Leaf Valley Market received the message and came to support, even he would struggle to fend them off. Fellow Daoist, are you joking? If you leave now, there's still time, Yu Yuanshan said darkly. In the Red Leaf Valley Market, besides their 4 big families, there were also many other Foundation Establishment families that had settled in. If he allowed the robber to plunder, they would be held accountable for compensation later on. Especially since he, Yu Yuanshan, was stationed in the Red Leaf Valley Market, his inability to prevent the incident would be inexcusable and he would struggle to explain himself. Since we can't reach an agreement, let's have a fight and see what you've got. The burly man formed hand seals, causing the black gourd to float above his head while the white bone crossbow turned into a reddish spiritual artifact longsword. What's going on? My God, someone is attacking the market. This is bad, robber cultivators. Robber cultivators have breached the market. As the heavenly cloud and water formation of the market shook, countless people woke up from their sleep or meditation and looked outside. Watching the roiling black smoke in the night sky that looked like dark clouds descending upon a city, with the green water cloud formation flashing irregularly and rumbling continuously, trembling non-stop, a wave of panic began to spread from within the market. Additionally, many loose cultivators seeing this situation couldn't help but feel greed, wanting to take advantage of the chaos for profit. Chapter 370. Marketplace Mayhem, 4 robber cultivators emerge. _6. After all, the cultivation world is a place where the strong prey on the weak, utterly unregulated. In the marketplace, rules are adhered to because Foundation Establishment great cultivators are in charge, supported by law enforcement cultivators. Now that robber cultivators are attacking the marketplace, chaos reigns, order collapses, and under the temptation of immense profits, anyone could turn into a robber cultivator. Brothers, what are you waiting for, loot? Inside a certain inn, a loose cultivator saw the situation and immediately shouted, trying to incite more people to join the action. Laner, you stay at home and take care of the children, I'll be right back. Husband, Don't go, please don't. Fortune comes with risk. This may be my only chance in life, I can't give it up. Just stay safe at home, he'll be back soon. In a small courtyard, a tall man with a magical sword in hand said to his wife, "This old fool has lived a life of timidity. For the sake of our descendants, it's worth a gamble." Within a narrow and simple dwelling, an old man with a face showing age and hair as white as frost, looking up at the sky, gritted his teeth. He then took out a somewhat damaged flying sword and left the house. For loose cultivators, the chaos in the marketplace is dangerous, but also an opportunity. Dependent on stable jobs, they can never earn many spirit stones in their lifetime. But if they can take advantage of the confusion to seize some elixir medicines, magic artifacts, or heavenly and earthly treasures, they could save countless years of effort. In a moment, the entire marketplace was filled with the sounds of combat, cries for help, and weeping, all intermingling. The Lu family compound. Robber cultivators are attacking the marketplace? Lu Changxing, looking out the window at the distant commotion. At the moment Yu Yuanshan took action and the two foundation establishment cultivators clashed, he had sensed the disturbance and woken from his sleep. Now he heard the great formation of Red Leaf Valley rumbling loudly. Under the roaring thunder and erratic flashes of ominous, sinister purple light, he was nearly certain that robber cultivators were attacking the marketplace. And they were striking from both inside and outside the marketplace. Otherwise, such a commotion would have been impossible. Just when someone is attempting foundation establishment in the marketplace and the great formation can't be fully powered, robber cultivators come? Clearly, they came prepared, Lu Changxing murmured calmly to himself. He had previously sensed that allowing someone to undergo foundation establishment in the Red Leaf Valley market would increase risks. But he hadn't expected such an incident to happen so soon and with such ferocity. Changxing. At this moment, Lu Miaoge also woke up due to the noise and looked out the window, noticing the abnormal state of the green water cloud formation, her face showing shock. It seems robber cultivators are attacking the marketplace to loot. Lu Changxing turned back and said to Lu Miaoge, "Robber cultivators raiding the marketplace?" Hearing this, Lu Miaoge was immediately startled. Such incidents have occurred in the cultivation world before. There have even been robber cultivators who secretly wiped out some cultivation families. However, these events were rare and very uncommon. She hadn't expected that the Red Leaf Valley market would encounter such an ordeal now. "Our shop might also be getting looted right now, you'll go have a look," Lu Changxing said to Lu Miaoge. He could tell that the robber cultivators were mainly targeting the commercial district. They wouldn't come to the residential area. After all, the residential area where the Lu family compound was located was considered a more central part of Red Leaf Valley market. People who lived there were not ordinary in terms of status, identity, and strength. It would be more trouble than it was worth to come here, so looting shops and stores was a quicker way to gain money. "I'll go with you," Lu Miaoge said immediately. "Stay here in the compound, I have plenty of talismans with me and it'll be fine," Lu Changxing told Lu Miaoge. He planned to check not only the shop but also to see exactly what was happening in the marketplace. After all, the Red Leaf Valley market belonged to the 4 major families and he had both a shop and a cave dwelling there. If this chaos continued, the entire marketplace might suffer a crippling blow, taking a decade or more to recover. "Uncle Yuan Ling is watching over the compound. Changxing, I'll go with you," Lu Miaoge continued, her beautiful face showing determination. The current situation was extremely chaotic and she truly didn't feel comfortable letting Lu Changxing go alone to investigate. After all, if robber cultivators dared to raid the marketplace, there must be foundation establishment cultivators leading them. Otherwise, the commotion wouldn't be as big. "All right, let's go together then," Lu Changxing, seeing his wife's firm expression, smiled and nodded his head. Knowing that Lu Miaoge was also stubborn despite appearing tender, and seeing her looking so determined, he found it difficult to refuse. Immediately, they both left the courtyard. At this time, other members of the Lu family also began to leave their houses. Changxing Miaoge. Second elder, Sister Miaoge. Seeing Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge, they all called out. Second elder, with robber cultivators raiding the marketplace, Miaoga and I will go check our shop, Lu Changxing said to one of them. This Lu family second elder was no longer the same as the one from the Nine Dragons market. He was a newly promoted elder from last year, named Lu Yuanling. He was currently in charge of the Red Leaf Valley marketplace for the Lu family. Okay, Changxing, Miaoga, be careful, Lu Yuanling said after a moment's thought, nodding his head. He knew that Lu Changxing had broken through to the 7th level energy refinement and Lu Miaoga possessed 9th level energy refinement strength. As talisman masters with talismans at their sides, they shouldn't run into much trouble. Yuan Qin, Miaofeng, Miaoyu, the rest of you follow me. He looked at several other Lu family disciples and executors, issuing orders. With the marketplace in upheaval and the looting by robber cultivators, they needed to ensure the shops were secure and try to stabilize the situation as much as possible. After all, the Lu family still had the most invested in the marketplace and would suffer significant losses if the chaos continued. Understood. The others nodded and left the compound, rushing towards the commercial district. Chapter 371. Making a move, slain with one sword. _1. Plaintext, boom, boom, boom. Endless thunderous sounds bombarded the great formation of Red Leaf Valley Market, making the entire marketplace flicker between light and darkness, eerily uncertain. And the original thin mist that enveloped the marketplace now rapidly thickened at this moment, as a powerful surge of spiritual power fluctuated throughout. It turned the entire formation into the color of the sky blue jade bowl with layers of water patterns flowing on it, enveloping the market. Now that the robber cultivators were attacking the market, the 4 major families were unsure of the situation, whether there were more robber cultivators outside planning to attack the marketplace. Thus, faced with this situation, it was natural to fully activate the Great Formation and seal off the marketplace. To prevent robber cultivators from killing their way into the marketplace, to prevent those within from escaping, and to restrain the loose cultivators from causing chaos while waiting for support from the 4 major families to arrive. Boom boom boom. Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoga quickly arrived at the Lu family spiritual talisman shop. They immediately saw 4 cultivators unleashing techniques against the Lu family spiritual talisman shop, bombarding it furiously. These groups of robber cultivators, raiding the marketplace, naturally picked the better shops to plunder first. And the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop in the entire marketplace was also one of the better shops, which is why it was the first to be targeted by the robber cultivators. Fellow Daoist, if this is your family's shop, we will take our leave now. If it's not your family's shop, please do not meddle. The 4 robber cultivators bombarding the shop's formation saw Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoga rush over and immediately showed caution in their eyes. From their clothing, demeanor, and temperament, they could tell that Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoga were no ordinary robber cultivators or loose cultivators. Seeing the 2 people hurry to this place, they guessed that it was very likely that they were the shop owners. Therefore, they were unwilling to engage in conflict. After all, with the market in chaos, their goal was to profit as quickly as possible. There was no need for pointless strife. Clang! Without a word, Lu Changxing slapped his storage bag, and the green-faced sword was unsheathed. He had mostly sold the unused flying swords and magical artifacts he had on him. Only the green-faced sword the 4th elder had given him remained. Now that Lu Miaoga was by his side, it was inconvenient to show off the spiritual artifact, so he used this magical sword instead. However, to kill these robber cultivators, a magical sword was already enough. Swoosh, the flying sword unsheathed, its green-gold light circling, the blade unveiled striking brilliance, strands of sword chi spat out, like a divine rainbow directly lunging at the 4 people. All 4 were attacking his shop. How could he waste time talking with them? Not good. Watch out. Seeing the flying sword coming toward them, the 4 hastily stimulated their protective auras and wielded their magic artifacts. But even the most advanced among them was only at the 8th level energy refinement stage. Faced with the extremely sharp green-faced sword, with explosive sword chi, slashing at them. They had no time to defend and couldn't stop it. Thunk, thunk, thunk. The protective auras around the four were instantly pierced by the cold sword chi, followed by their heads being severed by the blade's light. With one move, one at the energy refinement late stage, 3 at the middle stage, all died. Changxing. Seeing this scene, Lu Maiage's eyes revealed shock and surprise. She was surprised not only by Lu Changsheng's strength, but also by his decisiveness and ruthlessness in killing. After so many years of living together, in her eyes, Lu Changsheng had always been a gentle and refined man, handling matters as gently as a breeze or drizzling rain. He never argued or fought with others, much less engage in combat or killing. So at this moment, seeing Lu Changsheng decisively act against the 4 robber cultivators without mercy and instantly slaying them, she was utterly astonished. It was as if she had seen another side of her husband. These people wanted to profit from the chaos, so they should be ready for this. Lu Changsheng let out a light laugh, said casually, and sheathed the green-faced sword. In this situation, he didn't bother to hide anything in front of Lu Miaoge. Or rather, in terms of acting decisively, he had not really hidden it. It's just that his disposition was inherently easygoing and gentle, and when dealing with family, he would not show any killer instinct. I know, it's just the first time I've seen you act so decisively, Changxing, which is why I was surprised. Lu Miaoge pursed her lips, her eyes full of softness, and spoke gently. She did not mind Lu Changxing killing people. In her eyes, this was not something evil or bad. In the ruthless cultivation world, if you don't kill, others will kill you. Whether it's an individual or a family, once you step on the path of cultivation, you cannot escape killing. Just like the time when the Lu family and the Chen family battled, when the Lu family and the Bai family went to war with many of the Pingon family's children, it was a way to let their own children experience a baptism of blood to understand the cruelty of the cultivation world. Mistress. At this time, from inside the spiritual talisman shop, 2 young women hurried out, their souls still unsettled as they called out to Lu Miaoge, Lu Changxing. They were apprentices at the spiritual talisman shop. They lived there on regular days. The recent events had scared them quite a bit. Xiao Yun, Xiao Shui, you've worked hard. Lu Miaoge said with a gentle face, looking at the 2. Sister Miaoge, you stay here, I'm going to check on the Peace Talisman Hall. Lu Changxing said to Lu Miaoge. Given the spiritual talisman shop was targeted, he estimated his talisman shop suffered the same fate. Moreover, with Lu Miaoge by his side, he couldn't exhibit his full strength, and his actions were somewhat hindered. Okay, Changxing, be careful. Lu Miaoge nodded. She didn't say she wanted to accompany Lu Changxing any longer. Her insistence on being with Lu Changxing before was due to her lack of confidence in him. Worried that, despite his cultivation level, he was not adept at combat. But having now witnessed Lu Changxing's strength and decisiveness, her worries dissipated. Knowing that Lu Changxing was even better than her in combat and killing. Sister Miaoge, rest assured, I have talismans with me, nothing will happen. You also be careful, and send me a message immediately if anything happens. Chapter 372, Making a Move, Slain with One Sword. Lu Changxing nodded his head. Red Leaf Valley Market was not very big. In case of any emergencies, he could rush over quickly. Thus, he wasn't worried that Lu Miaoge would encounter any accidents. Moreover, with Lu Maiage's 9th level energy refinement cultivation level and talismans by her side, as long as she didn't run into any foundation establishment cultivators, she would be fine. Okay, Lu Miaoge nodded lightly. Then, she led 2 apprentices into the spiritual talisman shop, fully activating the shop's formations to prevent any robber cultivators from coming again. Lu Changxing, holding the green-faced sword, steered his flying artifact towards the Peace Talisman Hall. Rob everything now while you can. Once the chaos is subdued, there will be no more chances. Exhilarating. With these elixir medicines, I can break through to the energy refinement late stage. On the streets, several robber cultivators were attacking a shop. After blasting open the shop's formation, they went in and plundered everything. Puff, puff, puff. Seeing this situation, Lu Changsheng stepped forward and struck without any mercy, slashing to kill the offenders. Robber cultivators deserve death. In face of such, he naturally would not show mercy. These ill-gotten gains will be considered robbing the wicked to aid the poor. After burning the bodies of the several people, Lu Changsheng picked up the storage bags, thinking to himself. Boom, boom, boom. Just then, a surge of mana power fluctuations swept across the area from ahead. The nearby loft that was engulfed in flames could no longer bear the burden and collapsed with a crash into ruins. Lu Changsheng looked up. He saw the patriarch of the Yu family up in the sky, wielding a red-yellow disc and an ice-blue crescent wheel, clashing with a robust man wearing a bamboo hat and holding a red long knife. Each collision of their magic artifacts caused a fearsome might. This patriarch of the Yu family seems pretty weak. Lu Changsheng frowned slightly as he watched the robust man and the patriarch of the Yu family fight. He noted that the patriarch of the Yu family's strength seemed no different from that of the former Lu family ancestor and ancestor Qin. Compared to the red-robed youth and Meng Yibai, he was much weaker. Well, that's to be expected. Qingzhou Mountain, Hundred Birds Lake, Wugong Ridge, and even Bai Lake Mountain, these families are all minor ones. Not only is their foundation limited, their ancestors spend most of their time after the foundation establishment in the family, rarely venturing out for experience, so their strength is naturally ordinary. It's impossible for them to compare with robber cultivators that dare to plunder the marketplace, let alone the red-robed youth and Meng Yibai from before, Lu Changsheng thought internally. This robust man who dared to rob the marketplace naturally had some strength and methods. As for the red-robed youth and Meng Yibai, he had reaped spoils of war valued at more than 100,000 spirit stones from the red-robed youth, among which there was even a peripheral sect-level cultivation method. From this, one could see that this person was not simple. One should know that the four big families, with hundreds of years of inheritance, had at most high-grade cultivation techniques and exquisite-level cultivation methods. From this, one could see the disparity between them. As for Meng Yibai, there was no need to say more. Not only was he an elite disciple of Qingyun sect, but he also had a false core elder, so naturally his strength was among the best. However, looking at this robber cultivator, he seems to still have some strength to spare. Lu Changsheng's brows furrowed as he watched the gray-robed robber cultivator who kept clashing with the patriarch of the Yu family. He felt that the other party was dealing with the patriarch of the Yu family's attacks quite comfortably, as if he had plenty of room to maneuver. This robber cultivator is just trying to delay the patriarch of the Yu family. Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly. He glanced again at the marketplace's green water cloud formation that was flickering in the sky above. At that moment, the formation was already fully operational. But under the constant interference of endless lightning, it could only defend and seal off the marketplace, making it difficult to suppress the enemy. Indeed, these robber cultivators came prepared, and there are quite a few accomplices. What he wants to do is to keep the patriarch of the Yu family occupied while his accomplices take the opportunity to plunder the marketplace. So, he doesn't want to push the patriarch of the Yu family into a corner. After all, although the marketplace's green water cloud formation is interfered with and affected, it's not broken. If the patriarch of the Yu family gets desperate and abandons the marketplace's seal, letting the formation fully enhance his own body to attack and subdue the enemy, this person will also have a tough time handling it. He might not die but would surely be skinned. Lu Changsheng stroked his chin and roughly understood the situation. The marketplace's green water cloud formation was indeed being interfered with from multiple angles. But it was not useless. It's just that by using its full force to seal the marketplace, it was no longer available for subduing enemies. If the patriarch of the Yu family abandoned the formation's sealing and was willing to pay some price, he could still control the formation to kill enemies. But doing that would not only result in his own loss. The marketplace would descend into complete chaos as well. After all, no one was clear about the situation of the robber cultivators inside and outside the marketplace. Currently, there were many loose cultivators who, seeing the marketplace sealed by the formation, did not dare to take the risk and become robber cultivators. If there was no longer a formation seal, then all restraints would be lifted. However, continuing like this is not the solution. This patriarch of the Yu family is too useless. He clearly cannot take down this robber cultivator. He can only delay and wait for reinforcements to arrive. But it will take at least an hour for help from nearby Qingzhou Mountain to arrive. In an hour, this marketplace will have been completely plundered, with not only heavy losses incurred but also the number of people coming here will surely plummet. Lu Changxing watched as the marketplace gradually erupted into flames, with the sounds of spells exploding and clashing coming from afar, his brows slightly furrowed. He knew that if this continued, not only would the marketplace be robbed, but many would die as well. Forget it, I might as well take action. After all, it's considered my marketplace, and he'll need to stay here for a long time, Lu Changxing thought to himself, ready to disguise himself and step in to end the chaos. Just at that moment, the sensing talisman in his storage bag lit up. It was Xianxia's sensing talisman. Chapter 373. Making a move, slain with one sword. He immediately channeled mana into the jade talisman. Thus, the other party could sense his position. Changxing. Before long, a woman veiled in light gauze, dressed in a blue dress, and maneuvering a flying artifact, came and transmitted her voice to him. Yu. Lu Changxing looked at the woman. He knew the person who came was Xianxia. The other party did not wish to reveal their identity, which is why they had disguised themselves. Changxing, what's happening? Xianxia had been meditating in the cave-dwelling area and was also awakened by the commotion of the marketplace's great formation. So she immediately came looking for Lu Changxing to check the situation. It should be someone in the marketplace undergoing foundation establishment, causing the marketplace's great formation to be affected during this time, unable to operate at full strength, and thus drawing the attention of robber cultivators, Lu Changxing relayed through divine sense. Do you need me to take action? Upon hearing this, Xianxia looked towards the sky, at the patriarch of the Yu family who was fighting with the brawny man. She knew that Lu Changxing did not wish to expose his identity or cultivation level and found it inconvenient to act. I'll do it. You hold back and see how things unfold before you act, Lu Changxing said to Xianxia. Now that he had the 7 luminaries heart lamp and the true Yang 5-element sword, he also wanted to see how his combat prowess was. Moreover, judging from the battle scene, Xianxia taking action might not be enough to resolve the situation. After all, according to his earlier speculation, those who dared to loot the marketplace like this must have something up their sleeve, including other foundation establishment cultivators. Alright, then let Xiyu witness Lu Lang's heroic bearing. Xianxia responded with a slight smile upon hearing this. She knew that Meng Yibai had died at the hands of Lu Changxing. Therefore, she was quite confident in Lu Changxing's abilities. Moreover, she also wanted to witness Lu Changxing's strength. Alright, today you shall see, Lu Changxing replied, also with a light chuckle. He then found a secluded spot where no one was around and put on the 100 Illusions mask. Instantly, his handsome face changed into something rougher and more ferocious. His long hair scattered, and he exchanged his green robe for a dark, wide robe. This should do it. After disguising himself, Lu Changxing checked his appearance. Unless the other party possessed some eye technique, they should not be able to see his true face. The next moment his figure shot out, changing his position. Mana surged within his body, forming an escape light that shot into the sky. A foundation establishment great cultivator? The patriarch of the Yu family and the brawny man, engaged in combat, both looked towards Lu Changxing in the escape light, taken aback. They did not understand the situation and whether Lu Changxing was friend or foe. Another foundation establishment great cultivator? How has another foundation establishment great cultivator appeared? Could this person also be a robber cultivator? If so, Ancestor Yu is in danger. Inside the marketplace, many people were focused on the combat in the sky. Seeing an escape light shooting into the sky, they all showed shocked and anxious expressions. They did not know if this foundation establishment great cultivator was good or bad. If this foundation establishment great cultivator were also a robber cultivator, then the marketplace would be doomed, and they would be in danger too. What's all this noise late at night? Not letting people rest, are you? Lu Changxing stood with his hands behind him, a few yards away from the two men, with a look of displeasure. Powered up by the profound origin bead, he radiated a mana imposing enough not to be inferior to that of a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Fellow Daoist, I am in charge of this Red Leaf Valley market. This person is a troublesome robber cultivator. I beg you to lend a hand. Afterward, our Red Leaf Valley market will surely offer you a generous reward. The patriarch of the Yu family called out, a trace of panic in his heart. He did not understand how a foundation establishment great cultivator had been concealed within the marketplace. Feeling that Lu Changxing was not allied with the present robber cultivator, he promptly asked for help respectfully. I'm sorry for disturbing your rest, fellow Daoist. These spirit stones are for compensating you. Please forgive us, and I shall leave after an incense stick's burn time, the brawny man said, taking out a storage bag and tossing it towards Lu Changxing. He also did not understand how a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator suddenly emerged in the marketplace. But he did not want any trouble. After all, if Lu Changxing joined forces with Ancestor Yu, he would not be able to continue looting. Not bad, quite straightforward, Lu Changxing said as he fetched the storage bag. Glancing casually inside, he saw over 1,000 spirit stones. He thought to himself that this robber cultivator was much more decisive than the patriarch of the Yu family. Fellow Daoist, this is just a deposit. As long as you are willing to help, my Yu family will definitely reward you well. The patriarch of the Yu family, seeing this act, hastened to say, gritting his teeth. He too immediately took out a valuable treasure from his storage bag for Lu Changxing. Good, I hope your Yu family's reward will not disappoint me, Lu Changxing said as he scanned the patriarch of the Yu family with a grave voice. Without wasting any more time, his whole Bodis mana surged, his hair wildly waving in the air, as he lifted the true Yang 5-element sword. Do you truly intend to oppose me, fellow Daoist? The brawny man, seeing this gesture, scowled under his hat, looking rather displeased. He was not someone with a kind temper. It was just that he didn't want to be affected by Lu Changxing and bring more trouble upon himself, which is why he voluntarily offered compensation. But Lu Changxing's actions made him feel snubbed. Daring to threaten me? Lu Changxing looked towards the brawny man, and with a breath, he released something. A starry ancient lamp flew out from within him. It was the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. Go! Lu Changxing did not hide his strength, pouring a vast amount of mana into the 7 luminaries' heart lamp. The lamp's flames flickered, 7 stars circled, shining brightly. Infinite sword chi spread from the lamp, exuding a sharp aura, slashing towards the brawny man. Humph, do you really think I'm easy to bully? The brawny man, seeing this, squeezed his hands into a spell. A giant black gourd hovered above his head from which rolling black flames spread out like a black fire dragon, rushing towards the strands of sword chi. The patriarch of the Yu family, witnessing this scene, immediately showed an expression of pleasant surprise. Chapter 374. Making a move, slain with one sword. _4. Lu Changxing acted decisively to lend his assistance. Immediately, he continued to drive the red and ice blue crescent wheels towards the burly man. However, he did not use his full strength, still wary of Lu Changxing. Worried that the other party was playing a double act, preparing to launch a sneak attack on him. Whoosh, 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 hundreds of fierce 7 luminaries' sword chi surged forth, annihilating the burly man's black fire dragon, reducing it to black smoke that scattered away. Then, they continued to surge towards the burly man. Not good. The burly man sensed trouble. He saw that the other's strength and tactics were clearly superior to his own. Seeing Lu Changxing casting sword techniques again, with the flying sword morphing into several blades, he dared not hold back either. Mana surged around his body, and a black spiritual armor emerged, wrapping around him tightly. Roar! At the same time, A terrifying roar from a fierce beast echoed. A vicious and ferocious green giant wolf could be seen rising to the skies, surrounded by wind blades sweeping across like thousands of blades, heading straight for Lu Changxing. This green wolf was unmistakably a second-rank demon beast. A second-rank demon beast? This man actually has a second-rank spiritual pet. The patriarch of the Yu family, upon seeing the green wolf, had his pupils shrink. Only then did he realize that the other party was not only not using his full strength against him but also had a second-rank demon beast in reserve. This sent a chill through his heart. Xianxia, upon seeing this scene, had a crescent moon wheel appear in her hand. Should Lu Changxing be in danger, she was ready to take action immediately. Sword shadow dividing light technique, /. However, Lu Changxing watched the approaching green wolf with a calm expression. He formed hand seals and pointed at the 9 true yang 5 elements swords in front of him. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The flying swords vibrated, their light flowing, unleashing astonishing power. Accompanied by the sound of sword cries, they abruptly struck out like raging waves, blazing flames in the sky, shooting stars chasing the moon, and thunder and lightning. Thud, thud, thud. It was over in an instant. The green wolf, which was rushing towards Lu Changxing, suddenly stiffened, let out a mournful howl. Immediately after, multiple wounds of varying severity appeared all over its body, dark blood spurted, splattering across the sky. And then, with a thump, it fell from the sky. The second-rank demon beast, dead. How is this possible? The burly man's face changed drastically, and his eyes nearly split open upon seeing this scene. The green wolf was but a second-rank early-stage demon beast. But it was still a second-rank demon beast. An existence on the same level as a Foundation Establishment great cultivator. Moreover, compared to Foundation Establishment cultivators, demon beasts were generally more resistant to damage and much harder to kill. But now, it had been slain in one blow by someone. Such power was truly hair-raising. It wasn't just the burly man. The patriarch of the Yu family who saw this scene was also shocked, his eyes wide and heart-pounding. One strike to kill a second-rank demon beast, such strength was simply astounding. He felt that if he were to face such a strike, he himself might not last many exchanges. Changxing. Not far away, Xianxia, who was ready to act at any moment, looked upon this scene, her cold, beautiful eyes gleaming brightly. She knew Lu Changxing's strength was not simple. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to slay Meng Yibai. In her estimation, Lu Changxing must have relied on a variety of methods and trump cards to kill Meng Yibai. Otherwise, how could Lu Changxing, who had just broken through to Foundation Establishment, possibly slay Meng Yibai, who was at the middle stage of Foundation Establishment? But now, seeing a second-rank demon beast effortlessly slain by Lu Changxing's sword, she felt her heart skip a beat in surprise. Realizing that Lu Changxing was several times more powerful than she had imagined, and even more monstrously talented. Sword cultivators, how terrifying they are. Hiss, to actually slay a second-rank demon beast with a single sword strike. Rumors have it that sword cultivators are unparalleled in offense, invincible amongst their peers, and today I have finally witnessed it. Could this person be from the Heavenly Sword sect? Many people in the distance, upon seeing this scene, gaped in astonishment and exclaimed with shock. People like those from the Red Leaf Valley Market, who usually had little chance to see Foundation Establishment great cultivators fight, had never witnessed such an incredible technique. They were so astonished they didn't know what to say, looking up at Lu Changxing in the sky with eyes full of shock, respect, envy, and longing. Chapter 375. One sword breaks 10,000 laws, the turmoil ends. _1. Boss. Just as the green wolf was slain by Lu Changxing, a woman dressed in a gray robe, wearing a bamboo hat, burst into the sky and arrived beside the burly man. She and her son had raided the marketplace and interfered with the formation, but she had also been keeping an eye on the situation here. Seeing her spiritual pet cut down by a single sword strike filled her with alarm. She dared not let her husband continue to face Lu Changsheng and the patriarch of the Yu family alone. Indeed, another foundation establishment great cultivator was hidden. When the patriarch of the Yu family saw the woman, his heart skipped a beat, and his face showed solemn concern. He had speculated that there was another great cultivator skilled in formation based on the state of the great formation they had encountered earlier. Thus, he had remained vigilant throughout, lest the opponent should suddenly launch a sneak attack, leaving him no time to invoke the formation to quell the enemy. Another foundation establishment robber cultivator. Hiss. With two foundation establishment robber cultivators leading the charge, no wonder they dared to plunder the marketplace. If not for the intervention of this senior sword cultivator, tonight could have been dire. The crowd in the marketplace, witnessing the scene, were all utterly astonished. Xianxia calmly gripped her moon ring, watching the scene unfold, ready to intervene at any moment. Fellow Daoist, we admit defeat and are willing to leave as is. The burly man glanced at his wife, swallowed his anger, and with a hoarse voice, spoke to Lu Changxing. Even though his spiritual pet had been killed and his heart was full of rage, the sword strike from Lu Changxing just now made it clear that he was no match for Lu Changxing. If the fight continued, the only one to suffer would be himself. He was currently wanted by the Heavenly Sword Sect and had planned to make a quick score and leave. If he made too much noise or got injured, escaping Jiang country would become troublesome. Phew! The patriarch of the Yu family let out a sigh of relief upon hearing the burly man's words. Though the marketplace had suffered losses, if the situation could end like this, in his view, it was within an acceptable range. You disturb my rest and you think to leave like this? You may go if you wish, but leave your storage bag and sever an arm. Lu Changsheng's expression was indifferent as he stood with his hands behind his back and declared. His intervention had been to take on the role of an arrogant sword cultivator. If he were to let them leave so easily, wouldn't it look as if he had no face? It would seem as though his intervention was solely to quell the disturbance in the marketplace. Upon these words, the face of the patriarch of the Yu family stiffened, and he looked at Lu Changxing, astounded. He had not expected that when the robber cultivators were willing to back down, Lu Changxing would refuse. But remembering the might of Lu Changsheng's sword that had killed a second-rank demon beast, his lips twitched as he wanted to speak but then hesitated, not daring to dissuade him. The burly man's face instantly darkened. Looking at Lu Changxing, he said coldly, "Fellow Daoist, do not take things too far. Do you really think you have us completely at your mercy?" Although he admitted to himself that he was no match for Lu Changxing, he was not afraid of him. He simply did not wish to engage in a senseless struggle. Taking things too far? Lu Changxing, hearing this remark, scoffed. Then, with an indifferent expression and an air of arrogance, he said, "Since you do not know how to seize the opportunity when given, let's settle it under the sword then." As his words concluded, the firelight from the 7 luminaries' heart lamp above his head flickered, and countless fierce sword chi burst forth, with dozens of strands. Each strand of sword chi was comparable to a foundation establishment strike, incredibly astonishing. Shimmering shadow condensation sword technique. At the same time, Lu Changxing formed hand seals, and mana surged within him like mighty rivers, making the profound origin bead in his dantian churn with power. Suddenly, the buzzing 9 flying swords trembled, bathed in all kinds of radiance, bursting with blinding brightness. Thereupon, the 9 swords merged into a gigantic sword, black, white, green, red, yellow, and blue, 7 colors intermixed, spanning several zhang and radiating a terrifying presence. The burly man and the gray-robed female cultivator both showed looks of horror upon seeing this. Having struggled their way through the cultivation world, their vision was extraordinary. They recognized at a glance that Lu Changsheng's technique was powerful. They couldn't comprehend how such a formidable sword cultivator could exist in the small Red Leaf Valley market. Even the Heavenly Sword Sect disciples who had pursued them before were not this fearsome. Seeing the overwhelming sword chi already on them, the two had no time to think more and acted without hesitation. The burly man took out a white bone crossbow bolt, spat a mouthful of blood onto it, turning it blood red and surging with a deadly aura, and shot it piercing through the air towards Lu Changxing. The blood-imbued white bone arrow was exceedingly sharp, blood runes swirling around it, tearing through the strands of 7 luminaries' sword chi. The gray-robed female cultivator, facing the 7-colored giant sword above, brought out a gleaming yellow ancient mirror. The ancient mirror rose in the air, becoming a bright moon under the night sky, shining with dazzling brilliance. Then it formed layer upon layer of golden light shields, akin to the great sun golden bell, enveloping and defending both of them. Slash! At that moment, Lu Changxing completed his sword technique, pointing indifferently towards the 7-colored giant sword from above. Boom! The giant sword slashed down from the sky. This one strike seemed as if it could cleave heaven and earth, blazing brightly in the night, causing everyone in the marketplace to watch this earth-shattering swordplay. Clang! The sword chi tore through the air like a fierce storm, and the blood-stained white bone arrow wailed, trembling continuously, as the blood runes on it dissipated at a visible rate, plummeting from the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Then the giant sword crashed onto the shield resembling the great sun golden bell, causing deafening noises to reverberate. Under this one strike, the golden great bell showed dense, web-like cracks, as the floating yellow ancient mirror above shuddered continuously, its light dimming. The 7-colored giant sword vibrated violently, its power spreading, continuing to slash down with mana like raging waves, fierce and domineering, as if to split both shield and persons alike. Not good, this person is not only a sword cultivator but also a battle-hardened one among them, his combat strength as sharp as foundation establishment late stage. Chapter 376. One sword breaks 10,000 laws, the turmoil ends. With one stroke of the sword, the gray-robed female cultivator's face turned pale, sensing that even her golden light mirror might be shattered directly. Her hands continually formed seals, a surge of mana pouring into the golden light mirror, forcibly sustaining it. At the same time, she looked at Lu Changxing, shouting loudly, "Fellow Daoist, please stop, we have offended you tonight, for which my husband and I are wrong. We are willing to offer an apology." An apology? Do you think you can start and stop fighting whenever you wish? Lu Changxing said coldly. Clapping his hands together fiercely, the 7-colored giant sword emitted a thunderous rumbling, the force of its descent growing even more terrifying. Rumble, a huge explosion sounded. Although the ancient mirror emitted intense golden light, solidifying the golden bell, it let out a piteous cry under this fierce attack. Not only did the golden bell explode with a bang, shattering into pieces, but the surface of the mirror also cracked. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The dreadful mana aftershock swept through the surroundings, lifting layers of airwaves and causing nearby shops and houses to collapse, teetering on the brink of destruction. Such might from a single sword, it's terrifying. The patriarch of the Yu family immediately churned his mana, his robe fluttering, forming a shield of air to nullify the shockwaves, his heart shocked by the immense power of this one strike. Pfft. The ancient mirror shattered, the golden bell broke, making the gray-robed female cultivator's face turn ghastly pale, her figure unstable, as she fiercely spat out a mouthful of vital blood. This vital blood flew straight toward the ancient mirror, making it instantly burst forth with light again, projecting a golden barrier to block the incoming giant sword. Damn, how could there be such an entity in a newly established marketplace? At this moment, the burly man also turned pale, looking extremely ugly. He knew he had underestimated his opponent. The Lu Changxing before him was even more terrifying than they had imagined. Run! He took out a second-rank supreme talisman, a fire dragon talisman, from his storage bag, activated it against Lu Changxing, and then, together with his wife, they transformed into an escape light and hurriedly fled for their lives. Slice! Lu Changxing looked at the roaring second-rank fire dragon talisman and coldly shouted. Plop! A crisp sound rang out. The 7-colored giant sword directly shattered the assault from the second-rank talisman, which was on par with the pinnacle strike of a foundation establishment cultivator. Unabated, its sword might continued charging towards the burly man. Sensing the sword chi breaking through the air behind him, the burly man had no choice but to take out numerous second-rank supreme defense talismans, activating them for use. The talismans formed a thick light barrier, guarding the husband and wife. Hiss, so strong. This is too powerful. Facing two robber cultivators alone and making them utterly unable to fight back. If there was only one robber cultivator, I'm afraid they would be slain by a single sword just like the second-rank demon beast earlier. Is this what it means to be a sword cultivator? Sword cultivators, a single sword to break all spells, absolutely terrifying. The crowd watching the battle from the marketplace were all astonished. All sorts of techniques and divine skills, all cleaved apart by one sword, simple and brutal. The patriarch of the Yu family, seeing this scene, felt his throat dry and his mental spirit tremble. As a foundation establishment cultivator, he was more keenly aware of the terrifying nature of Lu Changsheng's assault than the other people in the marketplace. He felt that if it were him facing such an offense, he would likely be wiped out by a single sword strike. Seeing the two robber cultivators trying to run away, he didn't stay to watch the spectacle any longer. He immediately took action, sealing off their path ahead. Now Lu Changsheng clearly wanted to kill the two of them, and if they were allowed to escape, and Lu Changsheng blamed him, that would be terrible. Not far away, Xiaoxia watched this scene, looking at Lu Changsheng in the sky, her beautiful eyes conveying admiration. She had been worried that Lu Changsheng might be in danger facing two alone. But seeing the battle unfold, she knew her worries were completely unnecessary. The combat strength displayed by Lu Changsheng now was comparable to that of a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Seeing the person she adored being so outstanding, she was overjoyed and excited, her eyes sparkling with delight. Damn it, are you truly intent on showing no mercy, not giving my husband and I a way to survive? Faced with Lu Changsheng's assault, the burly man and gray-robed female cultivator, already at a disadvantage and only able to flee, now had their escape route sealed by the spiritual artifact of the patriarch of the Yu family, suddenly spoke with grim faces. Both of their hands produced several talismans and one heavenly thunder pearl. As robber cultivators who had wandered far and caused trouble to be pursued by the heavenly sword sect, naturally, they had various means at their disposal. Now, trapped in a desperate situation, they no longer held back. The patriarch of the Yu family, seeing the talismans and heavenly thunder pearl in their hands, showed a look of wariness in his eyes. A foundation establishment great cultivator might not fear the heavenly thunder pearl, able to dodge its explosive force. But so many talismans combined with the heavenly thunder pearl could still pose a danger if he was not careful. To think you still dare threaten me at the brink of death? Lu Changsheng, garbed in his mystic robe, his hair dancing wildly, said with a sneer, exuding a disdainful and lofty air. Slice. His 7 luminaries heart lamp above his head, his hands forming seals, he pointed towards the 7-colored giant sword, continuing his assault on the two of them. Boom boom boom. Ancient patterns swirled atop the 7-colored giant sword, with an awe-inspiring dominance. In Lu Changsheng's hands, the true Yang 5 elements swords might seem to explode to its utmost limit. Husband, there is a weak point in the great formation 90 degrees to the front. Use the heavenly thunder pearl to break through the formation and take Yuer away from here. The gray-robed female cultivator, her face deathly pale, knew that if they didn't pay a price now, they might both die right here. As she spoke, she forcibly stimulated the cracked ancient mirror to form a golden light screen. At the same time, she slapped her storage bag and a blue pearl flew out, shining brilliantly, creating layers of water screens. Damn it! The burly man's expression was dark and grim, somewhat ferocious. Chapter 377. One sword breaks 10,000 laws, the turmoil ends. I never expected that after all these years, having escaped the pursuit and killing of the Heavenly Sword sect, I would actually stumble here. But I also know that now there is only one choice. As long as I break through the marketplace blockade, I have an escape secret technique, and there's hope for survival. Otherwise, even if I fight desperately with Lu Changxing, we're both headed down a path of certain death. At once, the burly man activated several talismans. Next, holding a red long knife, he broke through the offensive of the patriarch of the Yu family and hurled a heavenly thunder pearl toward the weak point of the formation, aiming to blast a hole into it and seize the chance to escape. Boom, boom, boom. The heavenly thunder pearl landed at the weak point of the formation, causing deafening and continuous explosions. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, Lu Changsheng's seven-colored giant sword slashed down like a tsunami, breaking through layers of defenses cast by the gray-robed female cultivator. Up against such an assault, the gray-robed female cultivator had long been unable to hold on, her face completely bloodless, her body swaying, clearly at her limit. Ha! The heartfelt bond between the husband and wife indeed made Lu Changsheng feel quite emotional. But he showed no mercy. With a low shout, the seven luminaries' heart lamp above his head burst forth with blindingly brilliant light. The central lamp flickered, as countless sword chi poised and ready to strike erupted violently at that moment. Wish, wish, wish. The sword chi was like the wind, and the murderous intent was like a tide. Each strand of sword chi contained a peerless killing intent, capable of taking lives. At that moment, when hundreds of strands of sword chi were unleashed together, their power was incredibly formidable, so much so that even an average foundation establishment middle-stage cultivator would struggle to defend. Thump, thump, thump. Under the onslaught of the seven-colored giant sword's attack, the already faltering gray-robed female cultivator faced this tumultuous sword chi, and instantly all her defenses were shattered, her body pierced, and blood sprayed out. The golden light mirror overhead, showing cracks, dimmed completely upon losing its master and fell from the sky. The tide-like deadly sword chi continued to target the burly man. Fellow Daoist, spare my life, am willing to sever my arm and hand over the storage bag. Seeing his wife dead, the burly man in gray robes lost all his previous domineering demeanor, his expression filled with utmost panic. Father, mother, if you hadn't been trying to gather foundation establishment resources for your child, you wouldn't have had to rob the marketplace and die here. Rest assured, your child will definitely succeed in achieving foundation establishment and will seek revenge for you. The young man in gray robes took a deep look at Lu Changxing and the patriarch of the Yu family in the distance, hatred filling his eyes. He then quickly found an empty alley and changed his disguise. Having spent so many years adventuring with his parents, committing numerous acts of murder and arson, he knew that now with the market's unrest suppressed, the law enforcement cultivators of the four great families would begin to settle accounts with the robber cultivators, and he had to hide well to survive this purge. To disturb my rest and dare to threaten me? Lu Changxing sneered coldly, arrogant and domineering. As he spoke, he reached out his large hand and collected the bodies of the burly man and gray-robed woman, their storage bags and magic artifacts, pocketing them all. Afterward, he turned to look at the patriarch of the Yu family nearby. He considered whether to kill the patriarch of the Yu family. After all, the relationship between the Yu family and the Lu family had never been good, and he also had an old grudge with the Yu family. If he were to eliminate the patriarch of the Yu family, it would also remove a major enemy of the Lu family. Thank you for your help, Senior. Chapter 378. One sword breaks 10,000 laws, the turmoil ends. _4. The elder of the Yu family, seeing Lu Changxing looking at him and sizing him up, immediately felt panic rise in his heart and spoke with horror and trepidation. His form of address changed from the originally used fellow Daoist to Senior. After all, in such circumstances, he truly dared not consider himself equal to Lu Changxing. Didn't you say that there would be a substantial gift for me afterwards if I took action? Now that I have eliminated 2 robber cultivators for your market, the substantial gift should be presented, right? Lu Changxing thought for a moment and dismissed the idea of slaying the patriarch of the Yu family. One reason was that killing him would lead to chaos in the market. Moreover, the four major families, aside from the Yu family that had two foundation establishment great cultivators able to station one at the Red Leaf Valley Market, the other families didn't have any spare foundation establishment cultivators. If he were to kill the Yu family elder in front of him, the patriarchs of the four major families would probably have to rotate to oversee the market, which would also affect the Lu family. Furthermore, with his current strength, he did not fear whatever the Yu family might do. When the time came to settle scores, whether they had this Yu family elder or not wouldn't make much of a difference to him. Yes, that's only natural, the patriarch of the Yu family said with a sigh of relief in his heart upon hearing Lu Changsheng talk this way, and hurriedly added, knowing that the other party wouldn't act against him. But hearing Lu Changsheng mention the substantial gift, he felt somewhat distressed and apprehensive. He didn't know how much of a substantial gift would be sufficient to satisfy the menacing figure before him. Senior, please wait a moment. I will prepare your gift right away, the Yu family elder said through gritted teeth. He knew that a heavy loss was inevitable. If worse came to worst, he could have the four major families chip in for this expense later on. You have a quarter of an hour. I'll give you 15 minutes. During this time, I'll keep an eye on the robber cultivators in the market for you, said Lu Changxing indifferently. Yes, thank you, Senior. Please wait a moment, Yuanshan replied, not daring to delay. He immediately transformed into a streak of escape light and departed to return to his cave dwelling and shop to prepare the substantial gift. In the meantime, Lu Changxing had also moved to another location where he took out his spiritual pet bag and collected the carcass of the green wolf, a second-rank demon beast he had just slain. A demon beast's body was a treasure trove. It could be used not only in talisman making and alchemy, and for forging magic artifacts, but also its tendons and bones could serve as the main body for constructing beast-shaped puppets. Such a second-rank demon beast, even just selling its materials, could fetch several thousand spirit stones, and he naturally wouldn't waste it. Shiyu, you go back first. After finishing all this, Lu Changxing transmitted his divine sense to Xiaoxia, telling her to return to the cave dwelling to rest in peace. Immediately, he stood beneath the seven luminaries' heart lamp with his arms crossed and patrolled above the marketplace. Whenever he detected the scent of blood or hidden robber cultivators, the seven luminaries' heart lamp would shed strands of sword qi, bringing their lives to an end. In a short while, Lu Changxing had slain 8 robber cultivators, gaining a modest harvest. Senior, this is the gift prepared by our marketplace for you, a modest token of our regard. Please accept it. By this time, the Yu family elder had returned, offering up 3 storage bags. Lu Changxing took the storage bags and glanced inside. The first storage bag contained spirit stones, approximately 10,000 of them. The second storage bag held various items such as talismans, elixir medicines, and assorted spiritual materials. In the third storage bag, there were several glazed porcelain vases and embroidered boxes, which held relatively precious and rare elixir medicines and treasures. Lu Changxing estimated the total value to be about 30,000 spirit stones. The amount of spirit stones was not considered a lot. But for the financial situation of the Yu family, it was already a very sincere gesture. All right, I accept your gesture. Farewell. Lu Changxing nodded and, without saying much more, transformed into a streak of light, arriving at the place where the burly man had fallen. He struck at the weakest point of the formation with a sword, creating a crack, then left the market and disappeared into the night. Phew! Seeing Lu Changxing depart, the elder Yu released a deep breath of relief. Although the presence of such a great cultivator made the market much safer, Lu Changsheng's recent demonstration made him appear as a harbinger of death in the elder's eyes, someone he truly didn't dare get too close to. Afterward, he commanded the market enforcement team, "Now, everyone secure the market and start patrolling for robber cultivators and assessing the losses from just now." Chapter 379. The Shock of the Four Patriarchs. _1. Lu Changxing left the Red Leaf Valley Market and upon seeing no one around, immediately disguised himself, concealing his magic aura entirely. He then took out a second-rank Qi Sealing Talisman and a Stealth Talisman from his storage bag and used them on himself. Of course, he couldn't actually leave. Now that the disturbance in the marketplace had ended, Lu Miaoge, not having seen him, would surely be worried. Moreover, the four great families would definitely be inspecting the marketplace next. If he wasn't around, unnecessary trouble might arise. As expected, it hasn't recovered so quickly. Lu Changxing quickly returned to the Red Leaf Valley market. Seeing the huge crack he had previously cut at the weak point of the market's great formation still there, he breathed a sigh of relief. He had deliberately made that slash before as a makeshift exit for himself to use upon returning. Within the crack, 2 energy refinement late-stage cultivators could be seen standing guard. But he, a Foundation Establishment great cultivator, had not only concealed his aura but also had a second-rank Qi Sealing Talisman and a Stealth Talisman, so naturally he wouldn't be noticed. Lu Changxing silently slipped back into the marketplace. Afterwards, he found a secluded alley, tied up his loosened hair, changed back into his blue magical robe, and restored his handsome and imposing true appearance. Is this a failed Foundation Establishment attempt? Lu Changxing walked out of the alley and headed towards the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Looking up at the sky, he saw the vortex of nature's spiritual energy above the core cave-dwelling area slowly dissipating. This situation indicated a failed Foundation Establishment attempt. Indeed, with such a commotion just now at the marketplace and the Great Formation operating at full capacity, not only did it cause a disorder in nature's spiritual energy, but it also greatly affected the mindset of those attempting Foundation establishment. The transformation of spiritual liquid into mana, supporting the Dao Foundation, cannot tolerate distractions. A single mishap can lead to failure in Foundation establishment. With such a huge commotion in the marketplace just now, how could they not be affected? Lu Changxing shook his head. Knowing that the person had not taken a Foundation establishment elixir, now that Foundation establishment had failed, if they didn't die, they still would be abolished. Even if they took a meridian protecting elixir to protect the meridians and dantian, reducing the risk of death, they still had to face the situation of damaged meridians and dantian, with cultivation levels rolling back. If there was no great opportunity, it would be almost impossible for them to break through Foundation establishment again in this lifetime. It's said that this person has a 4th-grade spiritual root and is only 49 years old. Among loose cultivators, they were in the prime of life. Now that Foundation establishment has failed and all savings are spent, even if they don't die, the rest of their life will be very difficult. Lu Changxing slightly shook his head, feeling somewhat emotional inside. Most loose cultivators trying to break through to Foundation establishment were not only risking their lives. They were also staking all their lifelong savings on it. Uncle Yuan Shan. At that moment, Lu Changxing saw several law enforcement cultivators coming towards him. The man leading them was a one-armed, dignified man with a weathered face. He was one of the core members of the Lu family, Lu Yuanshan. Although he had lost an arm, his energy refinement 9th level cultivation was still formidable. He was positioned in the Red Leaf Valley market by the Lu family to serve as the law enforcement leader. Changxing, what are you doing here? Upon seeing Lu Changxing, Lu Yuanshan gave him a few glances and then asked. Earlier, when the marketplace was in turmoil, after Miaoge and I checked our own talisman shop, I was about to go and see the situation at my own spiritual talisman shop. Just as I left, a fight broke out involving Foundation establishment cultivators, so I had to hide on the side, and only now do I dare to come out, Lu Changxing spoke. How could Miaoge let you go check the situation by yourself? Upon hearing this, Lu Yuanshan frowned and said, the recent situation was very dangerous in his view. As the leading talisman path expert of the Lu family with only 7th level energy refinement cultivation, how could Lu Miaoge let Lu Changxing wander around under such circumstances? Any mishap would be a tremendous loss for their Lu family. In his view, it was simply too reckless. It was an emergency at that time, and besides, I had talismans with me. As long as I didn't encounter any Foundation establishment cultivators, there basically wouldn't be any problems. Lu Changxing said somewhat sheepishly. The Lu family might not reprimand him. But chances are, they might still address the matter with Lu Miaoge afterwards. Although it's safe now, there might still be robber cultivators hidden in the shadows. Come with me, and I'll escort you back first, Lu Yuanshan continued. He didn't doubt or check on Lu Changxing. After all, they were family and he knew him through and through. Furthermore, with Lu Changsheng's appearance and demeanor, he didn't believe that he could be someone else in disguise. Thank you, Uncle Yuanshan, Lu Changxing nodded. Then, Lu Yuanshan, accompanied by a few law enforcement cultivators, escorted Lu Changxing back to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Changxing, Uncle Yuanshan, Lu Miaoge was at the first floor of the talisman shop waiting. Seeing them approaching, she immediately opened the formation. Miaoge, how could you let Changxing check the situation by himself? You saw the commotion in the marketplace just now. What if he had an accident with a robber cultivator? Lu Yuanshan said with a stern voice upon seeing Lu Miaoge. The tone in his voice carried a note of reprimand. Though Lu Miaoge was an energy refinement 9th level cultivator and a talisman master herself, she was nonetheless the junior he had watched grow up, so such a reprimand was within reason. Uncle Yuanshan, it's my fault too. Sister Miaoge told me not to go, but I thought with talismans at my side, there would be no issues. Lu Changxing, expecting Lu Yuanshan to admonish Lu Miaoge after the fact, was surprised when Lu Yuanshan began to reproach her upon meeting. Knowing Lu Yuanshan's concerns were well-intended, he immediately spoke up to smooth things over, taking some of the blame. All right, I won't say more. You two stay put in the shop tonight, and if there's trouble, send me a message. Lu Yuanshan's expression remained austere as he spoke, gesturing with his hand, and proceeded with his patrol. Yes, Uncle Yuanshan. Uncle Yuanshan, please take care. Chapter 380. The Shock of the Four Patriarchs. Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge nodded. Changxing, are you all right? Lu Miaoge looked at Lu Changxing, her beautiful eyes filled with concern. She thought that Lu Yuanshan had brought Lu Changxing back because he had encountered some danger. I'm fine, I just ran into Uncle Yuanshan on the way. He saw I was alone and worried for my safety, so he offered to escort me back. Lu Changxing gently shook his head, offering a wry smile. Uncle Yuanshan is always stern and rarely smiles, but he means well, Lu Miaoge spoke out. She had a great deal of respect for Lu Yuanshan. If it weren't for Lu Yuanshan bringing back the main ingredient for the Foundation establishment elixir from the Purple Shadow secret realm, Lu Yuanzhong might not have succeeded in his Foundation establishment. One could say that Lu Yuanshan had indirectly saved Qingzhou Mountain. I know. Lu Changxing nodded his head. He had had several encounters with Lu Yuanshan and knew of the man's character, which was actually quite decent. Changxing, did you see the Foundation establishment battle just now? After sitting down, Lu Miaoge and Lu Changxing started to chat casually. She had just seen the images of Lu Changxing fighting the two robber cultivators at the spiritual talisman shop. Though the view wasn't very clear, she was able to get a general idea. Of course I saw it. I was actually quite close to the location at the time. I never imagined there would be such a formidable sword cultivator living right here in the marketplace. Lu Changxing clicked his tongue in admiration. Indeed, two Foundation establishment robber cultivators and a second-rank demon beast. If it weren't for that sword cultivator, the marketplace would have been in danger. I've heard that although sword cultivators are unmatched in combat, they are only invincible among their peers. This sword cultivator, slaying a second-rank demon beast with a single stroke and cutting down two Foundation establishment robber cultivators by himself, must be no ordinary sword cultivator. I wonder if he could be from the Heavenly Sword Sect, Lu Miaoge said somewhat wistfully. The Heavenly Sword Sect is the largest immortal sect in Jiang country. All the cultivators from this sect are sword cultivators. So generally, when people mention powerful sword cultivators, most would think of the Heavenly Sword Sect. It's possible, although the Heavenly Sword Sect is quite far from here. It could also be a loose cultivator wandering through the mortal world. Don't the stories often write about sword immortals who travel the world, slaying demons and exorcising evil? Lu Changxing said with a laugh. After chatting for a while, Lu Changxing turned to Lu Miaoge and asked, Sister Miaoge, do you want to become a sword cultivator? He knew that the cultivation technique Lu Miaoge was practicing was called profound water art, which is a high-grade cultivation technique. The magic barrier during the foundation establishment of a cultivator is related to the cultivator's technique. The more formidable the cultivation technique, the more robust the mana, making this barrier easier to breach and the transformation of spiritual power into mana simpler. While a high-grade cultivation technique won't hold one back, it doesn't provide much assistance either. Now that he had successfully established his foundation and possessed some strength, he didn't mind passing on the Saturn Solar Sword technique from the Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture to Lu Miaoge. The Saturn Solar Sword technique, though just an exquisite level cultivation method, being a lineage of the orthodox level Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture, is considered one of the top methods among the exquisite level. It offers some help during the magic barrier of foundation establishment. Moreover, as Lu Miaoge's profound water art would need a follow-up technique after reaching the foundation establishment stage, adopting the Saturn Solar Sword technique now would mean she wouldn't have to worry about subsequent techniques. While sword cultivators are formidable, I am not fond of conflicts, so I haven't really considered becoming a sword cultivator, Lu Miaoge said gently, her demeanor as calm as water. Although sword cultivators possess overwhelming combat strength and excel in offense, certain qualities and a specific style are required. They demand a resolute and unwavering spirit. If one's temperament is weak, even with the practice of sword techniques, their combat effectiveness will be mediocre at best. Sister Miaoge, you probably noticed that the cultivation technique I practice isn't greenwood art. Actually, I acquired a sword technique in a fortuitous secret realm, and what I've been cultivating is that sword technique. Lu Changxing continued to talk to Lu Miaoge. The combat power he demonstrated previously, instantly subduing several robber cultivators, was clearly beyond what one would expect from practicing greenwood art. Greenwood art is more geared towards health and vitality, with average combat capabilities. A sword technique? Lu Miaoge was a bit surprised but felt it made sense. After all, the combat strength Lu Changxing had exhibited was quite extraordinary, beyond that of ordinary people. Her stunning face smiled warmly as she said, I never imagined my husband would also be a sword cultivator. Changxing, your decisive manner along the way showed hints of a sword immortal's grace. Maybe in the future, you could be like that sword cultivator just now. Lu Miaoge's eyes were filled with love, admiration, and doting as she spoke, her gaze stirring the heart. This sword technique belongs to the exquisite level. If you need it, Sister Miaoge, I can pass it on to you. Cultivating this technique could help you when you attempt foundation establishment later on, Lu Changxing said with a smile. While it's true that sword cultivators have specific temperamental styles, it's not to say one couldn't cultivate them if they don't fit perfectly. It's just a matter of how potent it will be. Cultivating the Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture, even if not quite suited, would still be better than ordinary high-grade cultivation techniques. An exquisite level cultivation method. Lu Miaoge gasped, visibly surprised. She was well aware of the preciousness of an exquisite level cultivation method. At Qingju Mountain, they only possessed a few high-grade cultivation techniques. Even these few techniques had cost the Lu family a great deal and much effort to obtain. After all, in the cultivation world, very few are willing to externalize and divulge their family's techniques. Now that Lu Changxing was casually offering to pass on an exquisite level cultivation method to her, she felt moved. Sadly, after looking through that technique just once, the inheriting jade slip self-destructed. The strength, attire, and appearance of these two robber cultivators remind me of the male and female villains who are being pursued by the major immortal sects. Patriarch Eugene Yang narrowed his eyes slightly as he spoke. Male and female villains. The two of them each possesses the strength of the middle and early stages of foundation establishment. The couple often act together, robbing wealth and assaulting individuals with cunning and unpredictability. They have been wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect for killing an elite disciple. Come to think of it, these two do bear some resemblance to the male and female villains. Once Patriarch Yu Jinyang said this, even the Bai family ancestor began to express his doubt as he looked at the images on the shadow retention stone. Male and female villains wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect? If that's the case, then this sword cultivator must be a disciple of the Heavenly Sword sect, tracking them to this place. Indeed, otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence of having an extraordinary sword cultivator in our Red Leaf Valley market? Aside from the Heavenly Sword sect, where else could you find such a dominant sword cultivator? Upon hearing this, the others felt relieved, believing that things must be as they surmised. Chapter 382, The Shock of the Four Patriarchs. Understood or otherwise, how could there have been such a coincidence? Although stories of eminent figures hiding in the market were common, after all, they were just stories and rare ones. Yuan Shan, you just said that you presented a gift to that sword cultivator. How much was it worth in spirit stones? At this moment, Patriarch Yu Jinyang turned to Ancestor Yu and spoke. Upon hearing these words, Lu Yuanzhong by family ancestor and Zheng family ancestor all felt a pang in their hearts. Ancestor, a total of 30,000 spirit stones. Given the situation at the time, how could I dare to give less? Thus, I brought out all the spirit stones I could, along with all the stock from the store. Yu Yuanshan said with a bitter smile. He then looked at the three family ancestors. Regarding the gift, I can provide a detailed list and swear on my heart demon that there has been absolutely no deceit. 30,000 spirit stones was not a small amount. He merely intended for it to be split equally among the four families. He wouldn't risk making enemies of the three families for the sake of extorting spirit stones. Fellow Daoists, as our four families jointly manage the marketplace, this matter of the spirit stones surely shouldn't fall on my Yu family alone, should it? Patriarch Yu Jinyang looked at the three family ancestors and made himself heard. His tone carried an almost undeniable assertiveness. That's only right, we can share the cost of these spirit stones across our four families. Upon hearing this, Zheng family ancestor immediately voiced his agreement. However, his face betrayed a look of pain. Although splitting 30,000 spirit stones would mean only 7,500 per family. Even 7,500 spirit stones wasn't a small sum. While family income was higher than that of ordinary loose cultivators, so too were expenses greater. Patriarch Yu Jinyang, the robber cultivator's raid on the marketplace is likely greatly related to loose cultivator Zhao Feng's pursuit of foundation establishment. Initially, it was your Yu family who overruled all objections, allowing this Zhao Feng to attempt foundation establishment within the marketplace. Had that not been the case, perhaps there would have been no incident tonight. Lu Yuanzhong spoke up. He believed that Yu Yuanshan wouldn't resort to extorting spirit stones in this matter. But tonight, not only was the marketplace impacted, their family's stores and businesses also suffered losses. And now, to take out such a large sum of spirit stones, naturally, he was reluctant. Indeed, it was your Yu family's decision to allow Zhao Feng to undertake his foundation establishment within the marketplace, which led to the troubles we face tonight. Tonight, our families have already suffered great losses. Later, we will also need to soothe and compensate the merchants who set up shop here. I believe it is not proper to share this expense of the spirit stones now. I think that the Yu family should bear the brunt of the cost of these spirit stones as well as the compensation for the merchants. Bai family ancestor also spoke. The raid on the marketplace tonight might not necessarily have been due to the foundation establishment attempt. So many robber cultivators, they obviously came prepared. Yu Yuanshan said, expressing his opinion. Immediately, a debate began between the two sides. Confronted with this situation, Zheng family ancestor chose to remain silent. If possible, he naturally also didn't want to share the cost of these spirit stones. Only, his Zheng family was not in a good situation and was thinking of appeasing the Yu family. The matter of Zhao Feng was indeed proposed by me, but also agreed upon by all of you. Therefore, it's impossible for my Yu family to bear the full cost of the spirit stones and compensation. Let's do this. My Yu family will cover 50% of these 30,000 spirit stones, and the remaining 50% will be shared among your 3 families. As for the losses in the marketplace and the merchant settlements, we will discuss that when we have a detailed list. How about that? At this point, Patriarch Yu Jinyang spoke in a deep tone. I have no objections. Zheng family ancestor immediately said, if the 3 families were to share 50%, it would mean 5,000 spirit stones per family. That was over 2,000 less per family, a significant saving. Agreed. Lu Yuanzhong and Bai family ancestor exchanged glances, nodded their heads, and decided to take the offer while it was good. After all, with the current situation, it was already not bad for the Yu family to be willing to make a concession. After the negotiation concluded, Lu Yuanzhong, Bai family ancestor, and Zheng family ancestor left to check on their respective family stores and personnel. Meanwhile, Yuanshan was somewhat unwilling to accept the outcome as he looked at his own ancestor. Ancestor, why should we make such concessions? Even if we didn't, what could Lu Yuanzhong Bai Tongyun possibly say? Yu Yuanshan spoke out. In his view, as long as their family didn't give in or make concessions, the Lu family and Bai family would have to accept the expenses of the spirit stones. After all, this concession meant an extra expenditure of 7,500 spirit stones. Their Yu family had already emptied their coffers last year to purchase the Foundation Establishment elixir and had been living frugally ever since. This significant expenditure was like adding frost to snow for an already not wealthy family. At present, there is no need for our 4 families to create an unnecessary rift over these spirit stones. Old Ghost Zheng may be active in his stance, but he is also reluctant to part with these spirit stones. Hence, it is not an issue to step back. Now that Ning Hu has successfully established his foundation, our Yu family has 3 foundation establishment cultivators. If we slowly accumulate our strength, they will have to spit back everything they have swallowed, sooner or later. Patriarch Yu Jinyang waved his hand and said firmly. Chapter 383, 3-Colored Spiritual Earth, by Ling's Talent, an Unexpected Lottery. _1 before one's eyes, 7 days had passed. During this time, the marketplace remained in a state of lockdown and alert, inspecting for robber cultivators. Lu Changsheng learned from the Lu family that the outward losses of the marketplace were not severe and were within an acceptable range. The main issue was the series of adverse effects brought about by the incident. To minimize the impact and recover popularity and reputation, the 4 major families made certain compensations for the losses suffered by the businesses settled in the market. And they issued a series of preferential and welfare policies. Taking all these aspects into account, it amounted to a huge loss. Even so, the flow of visitors to the Red Leaf Valley market would still see a significant decline. The fame and reputation built up by the previous auction would be rendered futile by this incident. TSK, it's indeed not easy to run a marketplace. A slight incident can lead to a loss. Lu Changxing couldn't help but lament after learning of these developments. He was well aware that over the years, the 4 major families hadn't made much money from the Red Leaf Valley market. The primary income had been from the initial sales of land. But with this incident, not only had many spirit stones been spent, but the marketplace, which had just gotten on the right track, had taken a severe fall. It would take several years, perhaps even over a decade of management, to regain popularity and get back on track. It seems that the Red Leaf Valley market won't change much in the short term. Speaking of which, if I were to reveal my strength and talk with the 4 major families, I might be able to take over the Red Leaf Valley market directly as my family spirit land. A sudden thought crossed Lu Changsheng's mind. Through the previous battle, he had clearly realized that his current strength had already far surpassed that of the patriarchs of the 4 major families. It would be incredibly easy to take a spirit land by force with his might. However, he would not engage in such reputation-damaging actions of forcefully seizing others' spirit lands without good reason. But the Red Leaf Valley market, the Lu family held a 40% control. If he were to reveal his strength and cooperate with the Lu family, it would be entirely possible to take ownership of Red Leaf Valley using both carrot and stick approaches. Initially, the Lu family and the Bai family did not have the intention to establish the Red Leaf Valley into a marketplace. It was only after the Yu family and the Zheng family joined that the decision was made to maximize benefits by establishing the Red Leaf Valley into a marketplace. Thus, from the Lu family's perspective, as long as enough benefits are provided as compensation, it wouldn't be much of a problem, Lu Changsheng pondered in his heart. But there's no rush for that. Once I've accumulated a bit more foundation and my children have grown up, if we still don't have a spirit land, then it might be a viable option. Lu Changxing shook his head lightly. Red Leaf Valley possesses a second-rank middle-grade spirit vein and several first-grade spirit veins. Its geographical location is good as well, right beside Qingzhou Mountain. In Lu Changsheng's view, it's an excellent place for a spirit land. However, he could not reveal his true strength just yet. At most, in a few years, he could disclose to the outside that he had acquired a fortuitous opportunity and had made a breakthrough in Foundation establishment. Exhibiting combat power comparable to the Foundation establishment late stage in just 15 short years would indeed be astonishing. It would most likely draw unwanted attention. Once targeted, it could be very troublesome. After all, he was not a cultivator who walked the Great Tao alone. He belonged to those with families and vulnerabilities, a cultivator with soft spots. If it was possible to be more cautious, he would opt for that route. Moreover, Lu Changsheng felt that he was still far from having the accumulation and foundation necessary to establish a family. To set up a family, it required not only a top-notch combatant and a family spirit land, but also a top-tier great formation, a complete set of family facilities, an operational system, as well as a sufficient core strength and a continuous influx of new blood, among other things. Although he had 125 children, 30 of whom were spiritual root descendants, the oldest child was only 14 and the youngest was still an infant. Under such circumstances, there wasn't enough financial or human resources to support a family. Even with the help of his wives and concubines, the assistance they could provide was limited. The children still need to grow up. Without a solid base, even if outsiders are recruited, it would be very troublesome. But by the time the children are almost grown, my strength and foundation will have also improved, and by then, it should be about right. Lu Changsheng exhaled slowly. He didn't mind enlisting members from outside the main lineage. After all, it was impossible to rely solely on one's own bloodline. Not every child would succeed in managing the family. That is the limitation of a family. But the core matters had to be held in the hands of his own bloodline. In this world, the cohesion of a family bloodline could not be matched by its power. Sigh, it's time to sort out the gains from this trip. Seeing that the alertness of the marketplace had relaxed and things were wrapping up, Lu Changxing got up and headed towards the cave-dwelling area. He was preparing to go to Xiaoxia's cave-dwelling to tally up his gains, and to deal with the body of the second-rank demon beast. After all, the storage bag did not have a fresh-keeping function. If not stored in a special container, it could cause problems over time. Changxing. When Xiaoxia received Lu Changsheng's message, she immediately opened the restrictions of her cave dwelling. Because there had been patrols in the marketplace these past few days, she had been disguised. However, the main inspections in the marketplace were focused on the loose cultivators' residential area and the commercial district. The cave-dwelling area was only briefly questioned, as those who resided there were either people from the 4 major families or from other cultivation families. Shiyu, Lu Changsheng entered the cave-dwelling. After the two of them entered the cave-dwelling, they also reverted to their true appearances. It always felt somewhat strange to look at each other in disguised forms. Lu Lang, your heroic and dashing figure that night truly amazed Xiyu and is unforgettable. Chapter 384, Three-Colored Spiritual Earth, by Ling's Talent, An Unexpected Lottery. Xiaoxia's countenance was radiant and entrancing, her beautiful eyes brimming with laughter as if she were a playful young girl. Seeing the usually aloof and saintly fairy exhibiting such a girlish demeanor, Lu Chongxing knew that Xiaoxia was partly teasing on purpose, but it still satisfied a part of his masculinity. After all, which man doesn't like his wives, concubines, and children to show dependence and adoration towards him? She wishes to see her husband's grace. How could I disappoint you, Xiyu? I must naturally put on a good performance. Lu Chongsheng chuckled softly and leaned in to capture the ripe and charming lips of the fairy. A moment later, the fairy was nearly as limp as water, collapsing into Lu Chengsheng's arms. Her stunningly beautiful face was flushed on both sides, like a fairy descending to the mortal world, breathtakingly vivid and irresistible. Xiyu, were you satisfied with your husband's performance that night? Today, you must satisfy your husband. Gazing at the entrancing beauty of the fairy before him, Lu Chongxing whispered into her ear. Xiaoxia naturally understood what Lu Chongxing meant. She rolled her eyes at him, gently lowered her stance, causing her 3,000 strands of hair to fall over her forehead, like dark clouds over the moon, concealing the extraordinary beauty of the fairy's face. Lu Chongxing gently lifted a lock of Xiaoxia's hair, curled it around his finger, and playfully toyed with it. Looking at her peerless beauty, he couldn't help but recall the situation when he first met Xiaoxia. Unknowingly, the relationship between the two had reached such a stage. Afterwards, Lu Chongxing took out an elixir medicine to swallow, held 2 spirit stones in his hand, and sat down to cultivate. The next moment, a drop of liquid mana formed within his Danshan sea of qi and slowly merged into the 7-colored Dan Lake. Among all his wives and women, only Xiaoxia had the best effect when dual cultivating with him. Currently, only Xiaoxia could make him cultivate in dual without any reservations. One session of tender embrace technique cultivation was nearly equivalent to a month of his cultivation. And after such a long accumulation he had condensed another drop of liquid mana. Sigh, with 15 drops of liquid mana, even at this rate, it will still take 2 to 3 years to break through to the 2nd level of foundation establishment. Lu Chongxing couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Although this rate was already very fast, in his eyes, it was still quite ordinary. She had only glanced at the wanted list at the time, just to get a general idea. Upon seeing the true face of the burly man, based on the couple's strength and their disguises, she recognized them. In that case, I'll just hold on to it for now. If there's an opportunity in the future, I'll go and claim that bounty, Lu Chongxing decided after some thought. He had been planning to feed the corpses to the 6-winged golden silkworm. Now that there was mention of a bounty, he naturally wasn't going to waste it. He planned to make a trip whenever he had the spare time. Such robber cultivators wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect can collect their bounties in any large marketplace under the jurisdiction of the Heavenly Sword sect, said Xiaoxia. However, if Lu Lang wants to quickly receive the bounty, he'll have to go to the Heavenly Sword sect or the Jiuxiao Immortal City, she added. Xiaoxia spoke up. Chapter 385, Three-Colored Spiritual Earth, by Ling's Talent, An Unexpected Lottery. Right, Xiyu, when claiming a bounty, do they need to verify identity information or anything? Lu Chongxing nodded and continued to ask. Usually not. There are many bounty hunters in the cultivation world, and they make their living by capturing heretic cultivators with bounties on their heads. They prefer to keep their identities secret. Therefore, the major immortal sects don't require identity verification as long as you have the head or a token of the deceased. They generally won't investigate your identity. Xiaoxia shook her head and explained. Got it. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing felt reassured. If identity verification were required, he would have simply given up on the bounty and not bothered with it. Suddenly, Lu Changxing began to collect the two corpses again. He planned to buy some equipment later to store the two bodies. Otherwise, by the time he went to collect the bounty, the bodies would be rotten. What's this? Lu Changxing started to clean out the storage bag. From the burly man's storage bag, he took out a few items that looked particularly cherished to inspect, and among them was a jar of tricolor patchy soil. The soil was not only filled with spiritual energy but also gave off a faint fragrance. This should be tricolor spiritual earth, a pretty good foundation establishment spiritual object. If consumed during foundation establishment by those cultivating earth attribute techniques, it can help with the magical barriers during the 3 stages of foundation establishment. It can also be used as medicinal mud for planting spiritual medicines and spirit plants, producing an accelerating effect on their growth. Standing to the side, Xianxia looked at the jar of tricolored soil and spoke out. Tricolor spiritual earth, foundation establishment spiritual object? Initially, Lu Changxing thought that foundation establishment spiritual objects were average. However, when he heard about the medicinal mud and its accelerating effects on growth, his eyes immediately lit up. After obtaining the golden armor bean mother, he had looked into methods to accelerate its maturity and growth. After all, the growth of the golden armor bean mother was excruciatingly slow. 3 years to sprout, 3 years to grow leaves, 3 years to bloom, 3 years to bear fruit, a full 12-year cycle. However, upon inquiry, he found that medicinal mud and soil capable of accelerating growth are very rare and precious. Unless it's an extremely rare spiritual medicine that's difficult to cultivate, it would be better to plant in spirit-rich spiritual earth and have a specialized spirit plant cultivator tend to it carefully. Unexpectedly, today, without any effort, he had come across such spiritual objects. Not bad, good stuff. Lu Changxing chuckled lightly and stored away the tricolor spiritual earth. He planned to use it later to cultivate the golden armor bean mother. The subsequent cleaning process didn't reveal any more high-value items that excited Lu Changxing. Even with treasures worth over 1,000 spirit stones, they didn't impress him much. All these are magical artifacts. This must have been plunder from a magical artifact shop. I wonder whose shop they robbed. Lu Changxing opened another storage bag. Seeing it was full of magical artifacts, he took a glance and couldn't help shaking his head. He then opened every storage bag one by one, finding them mostly filled with elixir medicines, magical artifacts, and spiritual medicines, clearly plundered goods. After half an hour, Lu Changxing had finally cleaned out all the storage bags. 156 middle-grade spirit stones. 12,894 lower-grade spirit stones. 1 portion of tricolor spiritual earth, 1 middle-grade spiritual artifact, for lower-grade spiritual artifacts, but 3 of them were severely damaged. 4 top-grade magical artifacts, 9 high-grade magical artifacts, 29 middle-grade magical artifacts, 35 lower-grade magical artifacts. 17 bottles of yellow dragon elixir, 9 bottles of energy refining powder, condensing energy elixirs, treasures of heaven and earth. Doesn't seem too much, probably only worth around 60 or 70,000 spirit stones in total. Lu Changxing looked over the items with a slight frown. The haul seemed large with a variety of items. But most items weren't worth much and were a hassle to deal with. Excluding the 3 storage bags given by the patriarch of the Yu family, the actual total was only about 30 to 40,000 spirit stones. That's also to be expected, already being a robber cultivator and resorting to robbing the marketplace. There's a limit to how wealthy that could make one. Lu Changxing gently shook his head, knowing not every cultivator could be wealthy. Especially those who were robber cultivators, they generally wouldn't carry a lot of spirit stones on them. Immediately, he looked at Xianxia and asked, "Shiyu, is there anything you fancy?" "Thank you, Lu Lang." Xianxia smiled lightly and didn't hesitate. She took a blue bead and a flying needle magical instrument. They were the lower-grade defensive spiritual artifact and a top-grade magical artifact of the female robber cultivator. Seeing that Xianxia only took 2 items, Lu Changxing gave her some talismans as well, to keep for emergencies. After all, for him, talismans were the least valuable. Right, there's also this big fellow. Lu Changxing asked Xianxia to step back a bit. He took the corpse of the green wolf out of the storage bag. Collect. Watching the massive corpse before him, Lu Changxing took out a magical artifact gourd and placed it to the side. Then, wielding the true Yang 5-element sword, he skillfully made incisions at several points on the green wolf, formed a spell with his hands, and collected all the blood into the gourd. This second-rank demon beast blood could not only be used to make spirit ink but also for concocting certain elixir medicines. Of course, Lu Changxing intended to use this demon beast blood to nourish his 6-winged golden silkworm. After draining the blood, Lu Changxing proficiently inspected the green wolf's head and abdomen. Confirming there was no demon core, he collected the corpse back into the storage bag. Lu Lang, you also know the art of spirit slaughter? Xianxia watched Lu Changxing dissect the green wolf, collect the blood, and check for the demon core. Surprise flickered in her beautiful eyes. Just a little, Lu Changxing chuckled and said. This technique came naturally from the second-rank spirit slaughter ability he had drawn from the system. In fact, his instant killing of the green wolf was also somewhat related to the second-rank spirit slaughter ability. In that case, his own talent would probably be at full throttle. After showing some concern and rewarding little by Ling, Lu Changxing went to his backyard and dug a pit, pouring all of the 3-colored earth into it. I wonder how much this tricolor spiritual earth will help the golden armor bean mother. Looking at the golden armor bean mother that had just started to show a bit of sprouting after a year, Lu Changxing's heart was filled with anticipation. He also mentioned to Lu Miaoyun that he had bought some spiritual earth and medicinal mud. Although Lu Miaoyun could tell that the spiritual earth and medicinal mud were extraordinary, she didn't ask much and stated that she would take care of it every day. Time flew quickly, and before he knew it, Lu Changxing had been back at Qingzhou Mountain for over a month. During this time, aside from cultivating, making talismans, and refining the 9-treasure jade rui, he was also fathering children. With his efforts, during this month, 4 maids had successfully conceived. And on this day, Lu Changxing's 121st and 122nd children were born. Just when these children were born, a system notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations to the host for the first birth of Dragon and Phoenix twins, granting you 1 lottery chance. Dragon and Phoenix twins? There's even an achievement reward for this. Lu Changxing's eyebrows rose slightly as he smiled. He had known for a while that his concubine Kuei Si was carrying twins. But because he had already received a reward for the first set of twins, he didn't expect much chance of getting a reward the second time and consequently had no such expectations. Unexpectedly, without any particular hopes, he received a system reward. And both of these children had spiritual roots. 1 7th grade spiritual root, 1 8th grade spiritual root. Perhaps by continuously accumulating lower grade spiritual roots, would my spiritual root also slowly progress to 4th grade? However, for fast promotion of a spiritual root, it's still necessary to rely on higher grade ones. Lu Changxing sighed inwardly, yearning to have a child with a talent like Bai Ling's. He planned once Lu Miaoga had reached foundation establishment, to have 2 more children. With both parents at foundation establishment and possessing 5th grade spiritual roots, the children born were likely to have good spiritual roots. After visiting the children, Lu Changxing also returned to his study, preparing for the lottery. He wanted to see what this unexpected lottery chance would yield. System, draw the lottery. Lu Changxing silently commanded in his heart. Watching the familiar lottery wheel emerge before his eyes, with a slight stir of his spirit, a ray of golden light whisked around rapidly on the lottery wheel. He formed a mysterious symbol with his divine sense in the sea of consciousness, with a subtle rhythm. Then, through this symbol he slowly condensed a red needle. Sometime later, damn, is it really this hard to condense a single soul dispersion needle? Lu Changsheng opened his eyes, somewhat at a loss for words. He had made several attempts, using the power of his divine sense to condense the soul dispersion needle. But each time it failed to take shape before he could even really get started. It was entirely a case of I understand the principle and every step, but I just can't do it. This secret technique is many times more difficult than the flame bullet technique, the spiritual eye technique, or the aura concealment technique I learned before. It's going to be very hard to get the hang of it by figuring it out on my own. Lu Changsheng shook his head, knowing full well the difficulty of cultivating a secret technique. This soul dispersion needle required divine sense to follow a mysterious rhythm and form into ancient, intricate runes before slowly condensing into the soul dispersion needle. Every step had to be flawless, and he would have to slowly become proficient with it. Not like the techniques he obtained from the system, which he could master perfectly right away. Forget it, he'll study it later. Chapter 389. Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Condensing the 9 treasure jade rui. Lu Changsheng shook his head. He was not an ascetic cultivator. He had already been in seclusion for so long. He was not willing to spend several more months focusing solely on the study of secret techniques. He pushed the door and walked out of the practice room. The manifold increase in his divine sense had changed the way he viewed the world. The entire world seemed more vibrant and lively. The vitality of all things rose and fell, each with its distinct charm. Looking up, he saw the great formation that enshrouded Qingzhou Mountain, where mana flowed, transformed, and varied, all following a certain pattern. Now that I have a divine sense comparable to that of late Foundation establishment, if I were to study formation, becoming a first-grade array master shouldn't be difficult, Lu Changsheng thought to himself. Many skills, as one's cultivation level and strength increased, became less challenging to grasp. This was especially evident with formations. Array master was a profession with a very high threshold. It was even more dependent on innate talent than talisman making. But with a breakthrough to foundation establishment and the possession of divine sense, learning formations would become much easier. Because divine sense was advantageous for studying pattern details, observing the evolution of great formations, and precisely arranging formations, among other things. However, even with these advantages, advancing to second rank would still take an unknown amount of time and effort. Lu Changsheng shook his head. He had no intention of trying to delve into these matters himself. With the time and effort that would take, he might as well have a few more children in the hope of drawing a second-rank formation. Half a month later, Lu Changsheng was chatting with Chu Zhenjin in the courtyard, keeping the children company. At that moment, Lu Changsheng felt a stream of qi enter his body out of nowhere. He knew it was his son Lu Chuanjin who had completed drawing qi into his body. Indeed, it's not an achievement award for just one child, Lu Changsheng murmured to himself. He felt neither disappointed nor perturbed, he was very calm. After all, he had suspected that probably only after 5 or 10 children had completed drawing qi into their bodies would any reward be triggered. Dad, Mom, I've completed drawing qi into my body. Soon after, his son Lu Chuanjin came running over excitedly to share the good news. Indeed, after cultivating, one looks much more handsome and pleasing to the eye. Chu Zhenjin, hearing of her son's successful cultivation, promptly looked at him with joy, pinched his little face, and made Lu Chuanjin show a helpless expression. He felt that his mother, despite her age, still acted like a child and was even more childish than himself.